trail. I'm looping through the lava lamp, leaving a tail. My whoop's got rhythm, my stick's got soul. I'm the pilot of the party. On a roll, TV remote's a gate, the lamps a dive. I'm flying like it's 7.5. No GPS, no rules, no shame. Just a funky little quad in a soul train frame. Move it low, we fly that flow. Spread that gap, no time to nap. No time to nap. Hit that roll, funk and control. Bounce that wall, we fly it all. We fly it all. Funky and free, we fly indoors, we fly with glee. Whoop it, loop it, groove it, move it, bounce it, flip it, funk it, rip it, fly that soul, don't lose control. Tiny whoop love gonna make you whole. I thread the needle through the vinyl stacks, bounce off the mirror ball, never looking back. My quad's got soul, it's got style, it's got sass. It dips through the incense like a blast from the past. I'm flying figure eights through the lava lamp glow, dodging house plants like a funky pro. My whoop's got rhythm, my stick's got heat. I'm the pilot of the party with the grooviest beat. I loop through the hallway, I dive by the broom. I'm the disco ghost in your living room. I hit that split, it's over grandma's chair. She just claps and says, boy, you got flair. I'm flying freestyle with a velvet touch. My quad so smooth it don't need a clutch. From the shag rug to the ceiling fan, I'm the funky little fly with a master plan. The curtains dancing on the breeze, freestyle funk in my living room with these tiny whoop magic bumping every wall. I'm the James Brown of flight, can't stop at all.
Greetings, cretins! My name's Aaron Ciotti. Everybody calls me Ciotti. Welcome to your worst nightmare. It's Whoop Wednesday. That's not your worst nightmare. The runtime. Good lord, man. That was... you were just looking at the new cleared out backyard with the 1002 2S rig, which has vanished. What happened? Where is it? How has it disappeared? Did I leave it outside? What's happening? Where did it go? It's gone. It looks just like this one, though, but it's on 1002s, and it ran for like over 5 minutes blasting around in the backyard. Unbelievable. 2S is just absurd. We are going to take a look at... We are going to take a look at 12 different builds tonight. And in the exact same spot, being flown by the same person at the same time, to look at the differences between each one of them and kind of highlight, like, what do you want for your space and your style of flying? Do you want big power, not necessarily big weight, but big power 2S? Do you want super lightweight 1S 65? 1S 75, right? Like, what KV do you want? Do you want tri-blades or bi-blades? All that good stuff. We're going to take a look at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The rig you were just watching is 10. It's gone. I don't know where the hell it went. And then I think there's others. Yeah, a whole bunch of different builds, and I'm hoping that this will help you all dial in on what to build and or what to fly in like your favorite spot. So yeah, that should be really fun. We're gonna talk about all these different combinations, different different frames, different AIOs, different cameras. You're gonna get to see the difference between the Runcam Nano 3 and the Newbie Drone BI and the CO3 and the Caddx Ant, and I think that's it. All in the same spot, all at the same time of day, right? A pretty representative spot with a bunch of green and sky and a house. You'll get to look at run times. You'll get to look at RPM that these motor and propeller packages are doing. So lots and lots and lots of data coming at you. The backyard, though. The backyard now looks like this. Where's it at? Here it is. The backyard now looks like this. It's just flattened. There's one tree behind these quads that are missing. So we had a tree close to the house that was starting to lean towards the house, and the tree looked a little sick. And so for a while now, we've been saving to be able to get it cut down. Access to the backyard sucks. And so the quotes that we got to do it were like $3,000 to have a crane come out and put a crane boom over top of the house that they would then put these like massive chunks of wood. They cut a 15-foot, I think it was 15 feet. They cut a big chunk of this tree down, and he said, I was like, what's that weigh? 400 or 500 pounds? He's like, pfft. He goes, a tree that wide and that big section we just caught, try like 2,300, 2,400 pounds, right? These other guys that quoted us, yeah, they wanted $3,000 to bring a fucking crane over top of the house and put all of the chunks of wood onto the crane boom and pull these huge chunks of wood up over the house to bring them into the front of the house for the wood chipper. The first two quotes that I got were to do that, and they were roughly $3,000. And then the third quote that I got, the guy was like, can we dismantle this fence over here? I was like, you think you could put it back together? He's like, yeah, probably. I was like, have at it. Like, that fence is kind of old and banged up anyway. Like, if it falls apart, we'll just replace it. And he's like, well, if we replace this fence, we can bring the little tracked backhoe bastard, his words, not mine, down in here and just drive it right in. He's like, we probably get this done for like 1,800 or so. I was like, brother, if you can do that, his job is yours. We got that quote a couple months ago, and then, yeah, we just have been continuing to get ready for this. And then, yeah, we were ready to go. And I said to him, I was like, hey, will you guys clear the back? Like, can you clear the backyard out? And he's like, let me come out and take a look. So he came out, everything happened yesterday. He came out on Monday, and he looked around. He was like, yeah, it's probably going to like almost double the cost. 'Cause like, it's bad. This is what it looked like. This is it now. They also cut 6 feet of kudzu off of all these trees. That's why the bottoms of the trees are naked. They said that should kill the rest of the kudzu here. So this is what it looks like now. This is what it looked like 24 hours ago. Oh, here's the darkest video ever. Well, boy, is that dark. Hold on. I mean, it was just an absolute disaster. How can I right monitor, filters, color correction? There you go. Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Gamma 0.6. It was just useless. Really, really, really out of hand. And so, yeah, Maggie is absolutely thrilled. It's been driving her crazy for a while. the worry right now is that it's just all going to come back. Like, my thought process was like, let's wait until we can afford to have it all wiped out and then have like some sort of a landscaper come in here and do something with it so that it doesn't all just come back, right? But since the tree had to come down and she was just kind of antsy to do it, we had it done. And so now it's kind of on us to try to figure out how to not have it all grow back in. We've tried a lot of different so we've tried to keep the little like fire pit area, which we put a ton of weed mat and rocks on. We've been trying to keep the weeds under control there so that we could at least use a little bit of the backyard. And we've tried to use a bunch of different like bird friendly and like just friendly poisons, and fire and some other like methods, and they just don't work. They just absolutely do not work. And so we've just kind of said to hell with it. And I did a bunch of research last night, or 2 nights ago, I forget, and ordered a whole bunch of pretty nasty poison. A surfactant, and then 2 different poisons, and a 2-gallon sprayer. And we're just going to hose it. We're gonna hose the whole thing and see how that does, and then we're gonna keep hitting the rocks area. Also found out in the digging around that I did that the problem is that we didn't put enough rocks. We did not. Apparently, you want like a 3 to 4 inch layer of rocks to keep the sunlight from getting down to the weed mat and allowing shit to grow up through it. We've got like 1 layer of rocks. Like we bought as many rocks as we could afford, and apparently that was doing nowhere near enough. And so yeah, now the real work begins, unfortunately. But boy, is it fun to fly. Good God. It's really, really cool to be able to fly the backyard. I didn't like, it was so thick that like everything was so thick back there that like I just didn't think it was flyable at all. Like I just assumed it was completely useless. Now that they've chopped everything down and cleared everything from ground level, apparently everything was so tall that it was like taking up all the space. There's now this really like almost like a 20-foot tall flyable area back there. And that's what I really like. I really like to fly spots with a bunch of like vertical, typically tree trunks, but I mean, whatever, flagpoles, anything. Because it really showed, like, we don't get to play, like, obviously, like, we do. We get to play with elevation a lot, but typically, like, we fly down the street, we hammer the throttle, and, like, that's it. And when we do that, our camera is pointed at, like, stuff that's really far away. And when you hammer the throttle and there's a bunch of stuff that's far away, like, yeah, okay, you see the change, but like, it's not nearly as drastic as what's happening, right? Like, these things change direction and change speed so fucking fast. And the only real way to show that, and the best way to show that, is to do this, but with stuff really close, right? And so spots like this right now, these are what I always like gravitate towards and love flying the most. Bunch of tree trunks that you can like weave in and out of, you can like invert, you can do pitch forward weird stuff, and like you have a bunch of shit to reference off of. Yeah, really, really, really fun. Like, this is my kind of spot. Unfortunately, our backyard is not that deep, and there's a pretty nasty like ditch beyond the property line and beyond the fence. And I've already crashed down there once, and it sucks as a retrieval. We didn't realize it, but there's a gate down at the bottom, in the middle of the fence. But unfortunately, that gate is master locked from the previous owners, and so I'm not sure what to do about that. I hope maybe I can go after it with a Dremel, but I'm assuming that it's like hardened steel, and that's going to be a hard time. I would hate to have to buy a big ass pair of bolt cutters because they're probably expensive, and like I'm never going to use them again. So yeah, I need to look up what the cheapest way is of mashing through a master lock, but I'll figure it out. So yeah, yesterday was crazy. They were at it all morning. Oh my god, there must have been like 6 guys here. It was just madness. And a bunch of the concrete back there got like really busted up. They laid a whole bunch of 4x8 sheets down to try to not mangle the concrete. But the digger that they were driving was picking up, literally 1,000-pound chunks of wood, and so the concrete took a hell of a beating. So much so there's this like concrete path out there that the previous owners built for their kid to. It's a loop. It actually goes down and up and around. They did it so that their kid could ride a bike in a loop in the back. And yeah, that concrete got pretty mangled. So I have a feeling we're gonna have to just get rid of it because it's just a disaster, and it doesn't really make much sense to repair it or anything like that. So yeah, this created an awful lot of work, but I don't know. I'm just trying to think of it as exercise, and good God, do I need exercise? So yeah. In the chat, DeGhoul was first. J Tux, Timmy Flies, FPV, Devious One, Uriel, Mr. Clean, Uke, Frank, Dr. Nicholas, Tom Rides, Off Axis, Skull 901, Uriel, Fizz, C2C, B Kirk, K Ryan, FPV Toast. That's everybody on the first page of the chat that I can see. If you want the gangly man to read your name, got to get in early, or just type at CiottiFPV, and I'll read your chat comment. Look at this. Which GoPro is this? Who knows? When I was cleaning the sticky, disgusting, off-gassed or whatever it is plastic coating, the model number came off. It used to be written right here. Which hero is this? Who knows? I've even got the battery backpack thing to double the battery up. This was the very first GoPro I ever got. And the battery life was also awful, so they sold this little pack that you clip onto the back, which just has another one of the batteries. In here there's a battery, and then it just has a second one of the batteries, and it just clips on like that. I'll give you a hint, it's only 1080. 1080 is the highest quality you can do. This is a GoPro that I bought back in my autocross days. This thing has been hung off of the side of my old Mustang Cobra and my Miata for many autocross and mountain and all kinds of other shenanigans. Crazy. I can't believe I kept this. It's just so heavy. Holy shit. And they were not waterproof back then at all. You had to put it into this waterproof housing. This is not the waterproof front of the housing. This is you can get the housing with access to the plugs so that you have this. And then I have another housing that has this knot chopped up there. But yeah, this is a Hero 2. This is a GoPro Hero 2. Did anybody get it? A bunch of you got it. Yeah. Crazy. Not sure what to do with it. It's interesting. It's a little bit too good quality to use with like the 640 by 480 analog old school gear and mix in with like analog flight stuff. It's not good enough to mix in with like anything else. So this is in like this weird middle ground of like it doesn't really make much sense, and it's also really big and heavy and stupid. So I don't know what to do with this. It has no value, so like there's no reason to sell it. It'll probably just go into a box or bag and sit for another 10 years until I find it again and go, oh my god. Hey, if you have a QAVS Mini, hit me up. I'll send you this. This used to be a QAVS Mini 4-inch. The arms have disappeared, but it's the rest of the QAVS Mini, so you can have an extra base plate, everything. So yeah, if you or anybody you know has a QAVS Mini, let me know. I'll send this to you. I just want it to go to a good home. Yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to hit on the beginning of the live stream. Let's dive it. Let me get caught up on chat, and then we'll dive into some flight footage. Jamie Flies FPV tagged me and said, "Oh hey." My dad's in the chat. What's up, Dad? How are you? Jimmy the Cow says, "Moo." Off Axis says, "Don't forget that one. Don't forget that one in the tree out front." What? I haven't lost a rig into any of these trees yet. Flying in the backyard, I will though. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Before long, there will be a quad of some sort stuck in one of these trees. The Madman FPV says, "Hey, that would have been sick to fly." It is. Doc Holliday says, "We have 2 new FPV kid pilots, Sawyer 11 and Andrew 15. They got it." Nice. That's so cool, man. Yuke says, "My backyard is probably 2/3 that size looking at the pictures, and I think my favorite for that space is the 65. 75 if I'm feeling spicy. Baby turtle, even 1S is almost too much." So yeah, that right there is going to be like the conversation that we have with this flight footage is like, what is sort of the best to fly here. Let me put on, at the beginning of the live stream, you were watching the 2S Mobula 7 V3 framed 1002 14,000 kV motored Gemfan 1610 bibladed rig, just like this one. I think it's an X12 AIO, doesn't matter. Caddx Ant camera. That's what you were watching at the beginning of the live stream. I also have the same exact build on 802 19,000s. We didn't get to the end of that flight file. There's like another minute here, and so I'm going to play the rest of this. Again, these are the 1002 RC and Power 14,000s. These are just the truth. Like, this is my favorite 2S analog build. The 802 version is really good as well. After this finishes, it's going to roll right into the 802 19,000 setup. It's really, really good too. But like, look at the runtime on this, man. We're at 4 minutes. I flew both of these exactly the same. We're at 4 minutes and 4 seconds already. It's cranked out 53,600 RPM. And we've still got a bunch of battery left. We're still at like 3.56, it looks like, at a cruise. I got another minute out of this thing. It is absolutely ridiculous how good these 2S 75mm motor-to-motor rigs are. It's like cheating, dude. I flew the best 1S 75mm setup I've ever built as well, and it got like 2 minutes. I have the flight footage. We're gonna watch that. And it gets like 2 minutes of runtime. This gets more than like almost triple the runtime. It's crazy. And this has more power, and it has better response time. Like, it does everything better and gets almost triple the runtime. Look at that, 4 minutes and 54 seconds. Just absurd. So this is gonna roll right into the 802. I think I'm gonna sell the 802 rig. I don't like having this. The one that you just watched me fly, I think is fine. I don't really think I need 2 of these analog 2S rigs. So yeah, what you're about to see is a build that's for sale. Is this this is the HGLRC Spectre 12 amp 2S board, which has been completely fine. BT 3.0 Mobula 7 V3 frame, one of my little micro V antennas, Caddx Ant, or is it a CO3? So right now you are looking at Caddx Ant. Yep. Old school Mobula 6 canopy. Pretty standard kind of setup for me. And so yeah, that's what you're watching now. This is late. This was like dark. The Caddx Ant is pretty good in the dark. Not the best, but not the worst either. And so yeah, if you like what you see and you want that exact rig, I will almost certainly sell this to you. Yeah, I've tested these enough where I typically will build 2 of something when I'm trying to do testing, because it's really hard to test just one setup. Like, by the time you change the setup and get back in the air, you've kind of a lot of times forgotten how it flies, and so it's really helpful to build 2 of stuff. And then eventually, like if I'm flying it a lot, and or using it for work, I'll keep two of them. It's nice to have two. But like if it's just for fun, it's, you know, sometimes I'll pull them apart and use them for something else. But sometimes it's nice to move them on because they fly really good. And as you can see, this flies really, really good. The up tilt keeps slipping though. I gotta put a little dab at E6000 on the canopy to keep the up tilt from slipping down. This is now like 5 degrees or maybe even 0 degrees of up tilt. You can tell by how much duct is in view. And so it was a little challenging to fly this with such low up tilt, but it's a different way of flying with low up tilt. You can go backwards a lot easier, and there's some camera motions that look very different, which is kind of fun. And so I just stuck with it and kept flying. Look at that save, bro. Come on now. I was probably talking all through this. Hold on. Yeah, there should be audio here.
Oh.
Where's my audio at?
Yeah, these 802 19,000s have jam, and they're...
Listen, ready?
Oh, 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 oh.
There we go. Hold on. There we go.
Oh, just missed it. Oh! Oh, the save.
Save of the year right there. Yeah, really fun spot, man. You can see like that, like those kind of things. Like, that is what I love. I love, like, some of my favorite spots that I've ever flown, like, get called like cube spots, where there's like it's like some kind of a cube, and you can like three-dimensionally like loop from side to side. I just love that. This is cool. Like what you're seeing here is me flying yesterday a bunch of batteries and then kind of sleeping on it. And now flying again. I really...
Oh, God. Oh, no. Bail.
It really helps to, like, fly a spot and then sleep on it and come back. And I could really feel it this afternoon flying a couple batteries here. I was like, yeah, it like, settled in. And you start to find those, like, really cool ways to sort of, like, min-max the space. Where, like, you rip up one tree and then throw it all the way back to the house and, like, really use that space. And then, like, just these dives, man. Like, just being able to chop throttle and dive for, like, 2-3 full seconds. It's just so much fun, man. I just love that element of it. So, yeah, there you go. There's the 802 19,000 kV rig. At the beginning of the battery, though, you saw me move the motor limit up to 95%. It makes great power, as you can see, and it still gets really decent runtime. Like, 2S is just magic, man. Like there's just, like I always say, that on a 1.6-inch prop rig, if you don't have a very specific reason to build it 1S, like, I've got a whole bunch of the 1S 450 batteries, for example, don't. Like, 2S just does it all better, and it's just a little tiny bit heavier. And you get this, like, massive increase in flight performance from it. And so, yeah, that was that. And then I guess one more real quick here. Last night I threw together... So I pulled the Beta FPV Matrix V2 12-amp AIO out of this baby turtle here. And I put it back into a Whoop frame. With a CO3. This is basically an Air 65 V2. Like the current generation of Air 65 V2. That's what this is. It is on the Champion frame that's a little bit lighter, but with a motor swap. This has Weebleed 40,000s on it. And the HQ bi-blades. And so I threw this together last night, and because this is like, if you're going to build an outdoor 1.2-inch prop 1S rig, this is kind of what you should do. The lightest, most aerodynamic frame, the most aerodynamic canopy, a good camera with the CO3. The Micro V is always a good option. I have the custom length ones on my Etsy store. And then the bi-blades, the HQ 1.2 by 1.2 by 2 bi-blades, right? This is like ideal. Because so far, I really like the 2S builds out there just for the power and like just they've got a little bit more throw. But all of the builds you're gonna watch here in a minute, all of the 1S builds are kind of specifically built for indoor flying in a tiny little space. And this is like an outdoor kind of setup. And I did try to fly it. Where the hell? But the tune, as is happening quite often with these new matrix boards without the front mounting point, is a mess. This needs a whole bunch of love with black box. I did do a black box log, so I will be able to do that. If we have time, I can maybe dig into that tonight, but I have a feeling I won't. But it was also very, very dark by the time I flew this. But here it is. I didn't get much time in the air with it because it was just so dark.
All right, one more in the
And
darkness.
the
This
tune
is the
was
Air 65
freaking
V2
out.
on Bi-Blades.
But yeah, here you go. Here it is. I'm gonna give you the
Feels
audio
so
as well.
different. My God, it's so much lighter. PID loop is also kind of freaking out right now. Ooh! Yeah, hold on. The PIDs are just... Oh boy, look at it bouncing around. That bouncing ain't me. Oof. Nothing really crazy. Oh my God. Yeah, this ain't really flyable like this. This AIO was in the carbon fiber frame. Oh my God, I can't see. Ooh. Wow. Okay. Yeah, this ain't.
So there
happy.
you go. It felt pretty good. Didn't feel
Oh my
as
God,
good as the
easy, fella.
2S 75mm rigs, but again, the tune was kind of freaking out, and that was like very distracting. Zero throttle, it was just doing its own thing. So yeah, I gotta pull up the black box log in this and see where the vibration is. I'm sure it's on the pitch axis. Every single build that I've done with this AIO has had issues on the pitch axis, which makes sense. That's where it's not supported. And so the flight controller sitting like this is able to just wiggle around like this because the front mounting point is just not there. And so typically what you have to do with this AIO is just drop some sort of a notch filter. There'll be like a very obvious frame resonance, of vertical resonance from like 220 to 240 hertz. And so you just drop a notch filter on that with the right center point, with the right bottom point, and it swings up to the top point, and then you're golden. But yeah, pulling this out of the carbon fiber frame and then just dropping it into a tiny plastic frame, that is going to move. That peak is going to move drastically. So yeah, this needs a custom tune. I'm really excited to get this dialed in though. I'm going to test a couple of different really powerful motors on this. These new Matrix V2 boards have the bigger 12 amp FETs, which make more power than the older, well, not older, but the smaller 12 amp FETs, which also make more power than the 5 amp FETs. So this is going to be like a just rocket ship of a 1S rig. It's going to demolish batteries. You know, the battery running like a 300 mAh battery, it's probably going to get gobbled up in less than 2 minutes. But just, you know, what this rig will do is be ultra light. Those big dives, it's just like a feather on the wind. Just, you know, because it's so lightweight. And so this will like kind of maximize the effect of like making this backyard feel as big as possible. But at the same time, I'm wondering if it'll have enough power to kind of like compete with the 2S builds. The 2S builds are so much fun right now because they have enough power on like one throttle blip to just go hurtling up those trees. And that's just such a cool look, like being able to stab the throttle, get enough throw where it goes up a significant amount, and you just sit 0 throttle, and you just let gravity like take this thing, and then just let it hang. And, like, just that trajectory, like what it does, what these things do on 0 throttle. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's so much fun. It's so fascinating. Like, and it's difficult as hell, right? Like, you have to pick the exact right trajectory. You have to give it the exact right amount of throttle throw. And then you get this time, this like 0 gravity time to just kind of like play and see like how you can rotate it around in a way that it like perfectly backs up against the tree, and then just touch the throttle, get it to like stick to the tree or the wall or whatever and fall. Like, it's just my favorite thing, man. So cool. That is like, that is, you know, it's what I love doing the most in like freestyle flying. Like, you don't really get to do that very much professionally, because it's, you know, it's hard to replicate, and like your subject that you're chasing is usually not tumbling down the side of a building. But yeah, super fun. Let me get caught up on chat, and then we're gonna dive into this flight footage here. Jamie Flies FPV says, that looks great. Love the back lawn. I would, hey, where are my landscaping people at? Any of you landscaping adjacent or landscapers? What, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do with this backyard. I don't want the kudzu to just grow back, because it sits up and it holds moisture. And then if I crash, I'll crash and fall under the kudzu leaves, and then I won't be able to take back off, right? And I don't think it looks very good either. Like, it just looks like like, it just looks bad. We got to try to figure out what the hell to do. I would love it if there was a way to have grass back there, like, because it falls off and then it kind of does this, and it would just look really cool to have like a little rolling hill of grass. And of course, I'd be able to crash in it and take back off. But like, it doesn't get full sunlight, so we don't know if grass will work. Boy, does it get a lot more sunlight back there though. With that tree, the tree that came down, you might notice, those of you that have watched me fly a lot, I have with the open prop rigs, I have this dive that I do in the front of the house, from the front of the house over top of the house. And there used to be like a decent opening. Now that opening is like twice the size, because that one tree that was cut down yesterday was like the tree that was reaching for all the light. And so the backyard is like way brighter now, which should be really good, because like we've had these mosquito people coming out every other week to try to get the mosquitoes under control, and they've had no luck. Like, we can't go outside. Like, we're paying $80 a month for this mosquito company to come out and make it so that we still can't go outside. Like, it's bullshit. And so, yeah, hopefully that it drying out will get the mosquitoes under control. But, yeah, we don't know what to do back there. Like, I'm sure Maggie loves getting her hands in the dirt. I'm sure she'll do some cool stuff. But we've just got that like big area there to try to figure out. And yeah, not sure what to do. So if any of you are landscaping people, hit me up, and I'll go out there with the camera and point it around and see if you have any sort of ideas. I was also kind of thinking, like, do we do some, like, what's it called? Terracing, where like you send some big spikes into the ground with like walls, and because it is on an incline. You'll see in the flight footage, it's pretty, it kind of like, it comes up the top here, and then it goes down, and then it comes up a little bit, and it goes down, and there's this weird like little trench thing in the middle, which I'm kind of thinking like we should maybe fill in a little bit. When they weed whacked everything and they blew it all down the bottom of the hill, I'm kind of thinking of going to the bottom and digging it up and dumping a bunch of it into this little trenchy bit. But yeah, I'm not sure. But I don't know shit. Maggie knows way more than me, but even she is like, this is a big ass area. What do we do with this? So yeah. Ryan Sadat tagged me but didn't say anything. Yuke says, man, sometimes you just got to get in there with a machete and a chainsaw and go to town. Yeah, right. My dad says you should wear a respirator when you spray. Yep, I bought. We went to Lowe's today and got coveralls and a mask and all the good stuff and goggles, all that shit. Uriel says, birds shit seeds on top of stones. You can burn the stomps. It's fun. My dad says bolt cutter for the lock. FizPV says angle grinder. I don't have an angle grinder. I'm gonna see what I can do with I have a Milwaukee, a semi-decent Milwaukee Dremel and a kit of them. If I can leave a dent in it, then I'll just sit there for 10 minutes and pick away at it. Jimmy the Cow says lock picking lawyer. I was actually thinking that. I was like, man, this might be a chance to learn to pick locks. Lock picking lawyer comes across my algorithm on Google, on YouTube every once in a while. Capital C says you can rent bolt cutters. Okay, that's what I'll do. That's what I'll do then. That's absolutely it. My dad says you can never have too many bolt cutters. In 25 years of living on my own, I've not once needed bolt cutters, so I probably won't buy them. Really Good Bad Boy says Harbor Freight sells 24-inch bolt cutters for $20. Oh my god. Well, I might not be able to rent them for that much. Okay. Well, there's a Harbor Freight right down the street from me, so I'll actually probably end up doing that. C2CFPV with a $19.99 super chat. Very generous, dude. No comment, but just supporting the madness. Thank you so much, brother. DCD. Oh, I did a I'm using Social Stream again so that the YouTube memory leak doesn't demolish the my computer while the stream is running, and Social Stream is acting really weird, and I can't see the top of the window. It's very weird. It's broken. I don't know, but at the top of the window, the button that I can see said goals. I was like, what's this? I clicked on it. It was like set a goal, a super chat goal. I was like, okay, and so I don't think I've ever done that before. So there's a super chat goal. I don't know if you want to get in on the super chat goal, feel free. DCDK 1525 with 50, I think those are Danish kroners. He says, CiottiFPV love from Ali, Denmark to you and whole dear family. You rock the world, Mr. Ciotti. I'm happy to know you. Peace. Thank you so much, man. Very appreciated. Denmark, man. That much, yeah, there are like so many places I would love to fly. Can you imagine flying around Denmark, all those really cool looking buildings? Although what's funny is DCDK, that's just normal for him. He'd probably come to America and be like, oh, your buildings are cool looking. Madman says, I can't wait for the Whoop House at Castle Crash. It's going to be insane. RC Thrills says, sent PayPal, ELRS 4 point something is out, yet the Mobile 8 and newbie drones are not supported due to SPI receiver. Happy Model said, buy the new one. Do you have any sort of inside information? None whatsoever. I very, very, very rarely have any inside information, and if I do, I usually tell you guys. But yeah, that's okay though. The newer versions of Betaflight, they don't do anything. Like they don't do anything better. From like Betaflight 4.2 and on, nothing significant has really changed other than like some GPS stuff, which doesn't matter for us. So yeah, put Betaflight 4.5 on it and it'll fly exactly the same as all the brand new Betaflights. No reason to, or 4.4 or 4.3 or even 4.2. They all fly wonderfully. RPM filtering is like really the last big thing that we got, and it was in 4.2. I think it might have been 4.1. But yeah, the newer versions of Betaflights over the last like 3-4 years, they haven't improved flight performance in any meaningful way. So yeah, no worries. All the SPI stuff is still completely relevant. I just opened my mail because it sounds like RC Thrills is getting a shout out. RC Thrills with a $10 PayPal. Thank you so much, man. He says, for question. Very kind of you all. Come on. Can we just give me there we go. Got it. You Can FPV says, I have the first budget GoPro they made. Can't even take it out of the waterproof case it's built in. Oh my god. That must be a Hero 1, I guess. Is that a Hero 1? Yuke says, now you can hang a few gates from the trees, maybe throw some lights up, should be a good time. Yeah, I'm gonna see. I hope that kudzu dies off those branches, because I've already had well, you'll see when I start playing flight footage, I've already had a couple instances where I'm diving the trees really close, and like one little leaf catches me and kind of holds on to me, and I have to arm and disarm. There's also a big cluster of, you'll see it again, there's a big cluster of leaves that I'm hoping that I can maybe cut, but I think they're too high. But yeah, this should be cool. If we can keep this backyard under control, I'm really excited. Although we'll see. We'll see how often I crash down into the ditch. The ditch is pretty ugly down there. But if I can get that gate open, it shouldn't be too much of a hassle. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what this backyard turns into. But right now it's really, really, really cool. I'm having a blast. And then my dad with a $19.99 super chat. Thank you so much, Dad. No comment. Just supporting his gangly ass son. I'm also tomorrow. The other thing I'm doing tomorrow is I'm taking our Maggie has a plug-in electric lawnmower, which is not super heavy. I'm hoping I don't make my back even worse. I tweaked my back a little bit today, picking up massive bags of rocks from Lowe's, but I'm gonna try to take the electric lawnmower and just down there and see if it'll, because they're like they went bananas yesterday with weed whackers down there, but then like now there's still some like viney guys, and I'm hoping that the lawnmower will just absolutely annihilate everything. And so yeah, we'll see what happens here. But man, it would be cool to just kit this backyard out with a bunch of stuff hanging from those trees. I didn't even. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I just, like, with how gnarly the backyard has been for the last 4 years that I've been living here, it just didn't seem like a spot that was even remotely flyable. Like, it just seemed like there were leaves everywhere. And now it's like, no, it's just been waiting for you to spend thousands of dollars to have people come out and chop everything down. And like I've gone at that, like every year I'll spend like a few hours going after that backyard to try to get it under control. And like I'll leave a dent. I've been able to leave a dent a couple times, but then a week later it's all back. And so yeah, I'm hoping this we'll see. Yuke says that 65mm build is basically exactly what I'm running, and I love it outside. Yeah, I have high hopes for this. I really do. But boy, am I blown away by these 2S setups back there. I thought they would be a little bit too big, but no, they're feeling really good. Alex or 90 says, is there another frame open props that would fit my Meteor 75 components and the DJI 04? Thank you for taking the time to read the comments. You're a great person. Greetings from Paraguay. Is there another frame open prop that would fit Meteor 75 components? The problem that you're going to have is the Meteor 75 components have motor plugs that are facing downwards. And so you're either going to have to remove them and direct solder motors, or try to find some of these right angle plugs, which are really hard to find, unfortunately. They are on AliExpress. I don't know if it cost me $1.08 apparently to order 50 of these. I have a feeling that I just gave my $1.08 to the universe, but maybe they'll show up. But yeah, on AliExpress, here, let me drop the link. It's now $2. But here's a link in chat. Well, here's the listing too, in case you want to try to find it. But the link to that is in chat, and then here's like the name of the listing: 50 pieces, micro JST 1.25. And then so for our motor plugs, we want the 3-pin. And we want curved needle 3-pin, and it should be, wow, it's back down to 99 cents. It's 99 cents and then like 9 cents in shipping. I am pretty sure that I just gave my money to no one. I don't understand how they could possibly send me 50 of these things for $1.08 from China to America. But hey, if they do, that's pretty awesome. And 50 of the damn things will last you forever. If these do actually show up, I will sell these on my Etsy store, so that you can just buy 4 of them, because that's all you'll ever need. But yeah, that's the only real issue that you're going to have. Other than that, I mean, there's tons and tons of these carbon fiber open prop frames. Sub 250G FPV on CNC Madness or CNC Drones. They're the same website. The Max Frames M2 he sells on Instagram, MAXX, I believe, _ frames. Just search Instagram for MAXX frames. You'll find them. There's some other ones on the on CNC Madness, CNC Drones. There's the Caillou Mini, which is a 2.5 inch. I know I'm missing a bunch, but yeah, there's tons of these open prop style frames, and they are all set up for regular old AIOs. So you're spoiled for choice. Lots of choices. Hey, Ryan says, what's the battery mount and frame on the 2S 75mm? It is a Mobula 7 V3, which has the perfect battery bay for 2S 300 mAh or up to 450 mAh batteries. These are from tinywhoop.com. They've got the BT 3.0 lead. One of the things that I absolutely love so much about this Mobula 7 V3 frame is it's got this little hole in the back that strangely fits the BT 3.0 absolutely perfect. So you run tiny little leads, which keep the weight down. You put this in here, and then the other thing that this does, these batteries that have the leads coming off of them, they have a terrible tendency to slide out the front when you crash really hard. But with this in the frame, you put this battery in here, you plug it in like that, and it holds the goddamn battery. When the battery tries to shoot forward, it holds it in. It moves forward a little bit, but the lead being there holds it in. It's like ridiculous. It's so good. The only bad thing, this frame is also hysterically durable. The only problem with this frame is that the ducts are kind of tall. This is pretty tall here. And so this gets pushed by the wind and it's kind of slow. But I think that's why this is so good in the backyard. It's slow and the backyard is kind of small in this dimension. It's big in the vertical dimension, but it's small front to back, left to right. But I think this is perfect. You know, like when I go full throttle, it flies like this. And it's pretty aerodynamic like this, right? It's just when you're cruising around like this that it's kind of slow from the tall ducts, but that's kind of perfect. And so I think this is the absolute jam. But again, I have to spend more time with this. This might be really good back there as well. But yeah. Douglas 6 says, I don't think we've seen the t-shirt in practice yet. No, you haven't. I have not landed on the transmitter yet. This t-shirt is available on my Etsy store. I have 5 of each color, and I think 4 of them have been ordered so far. Not color, 5 of each size: small, medium, large, extra large, and 2X. And so, yeah, get yourself a t-shirt, support me, and then in case you ever forget, when you're out flying, it tells you where you should be landing. And when you're not out flying, people will look at you like you're a jerk. But we're men. We like that. RZ Thrills says, research grass types. Yeah, if I figure out that there's a way of doing grass back there, I will, as with all things, fall down the rabbit hole of looking up, you know, what Bermuda grass is and what its strengths and weaknesses are and all the other kinds. Uriel says, hang some pressure on the lock and bash it from 2 sides or one side the other against sturdy part. Is that real? Yuke says they just released an update for the AIO 5 and 15, allowing you to update to the newest beta flight and get ELRS 4.0. That's pretty cool. ELRS 4.0 does have one specific quality of life improvement. I think it's like automatic switching if you're using a Gemini transmitter or module. Other than that, there's nothing to, celebrate with ELRS 4.0 over 3. Blueback says don't use a lawnmower. A 5-inch will be more fun. Yuke says, for my baby turtle build, I just flipped the Matrix 2 upside down. You can do that and use the plugs. Not super elegant, but it works. Yep, you can totally do that. My main issue with that is now the motor wires go up, and then so you got to go up and then straight back down to the arm with them so that they don't get hung up in the props. But yeah, it totally works to do that. Varden says you need to start a fund for a Hypershell X exoskeleton. What's that? Oh, it's like the thing that you wear that, yeah, right. Blueback says, if anyone needs those right angle plugs urgently, I have some and folks can reach out on your Discord. Very cool. Blueback FPV. Link to my Discord is on CiottiFPV.com, which is also where there's a link to my Etsy store, where you can get this shirt and lots of other fun stuff. WKFPV says, don't worry, most of the time AliExpress orders show up, even those ridiculously cheap ones. It's crazy. Crazy. That was the first time I've ever ordered from AliExpress. I literally wrote on my whiteboard up here, order from AliExpress, because I've never ordered from there, and like I wanted to see what the order process was like, and or if they actually ship you stuff. So I've now ordered from AliExpress, and like, if you're gonna have your first order from a kind of sketchy, not really sketchy website, it should be $1.08 order. So I did it right for a change. I did things right in life for a change. Damnedest thing. Uriel says you can save one of the biggest shirts for me. I send cart. There's plenty left, Uriel. Just get in touch. We'll figure it out. Blueback says ELRS 4 is also much better with dynamic power. Oh, that's pretty cool. I don't trust or run dynamic power, but that's pretty slick. That is a legit improvement for folks that use it. Yuke says I have dental floss holding the wires to the arm. It's a great idea. As close to the plugs I could get. Yep, that's perfect. CFPV66 says you building a 2-inch toothpick. No real plans. The toothpick thing is not my deal. I've done it before. I've built toothpicks many years ago in all the different sizes, 1.2, 1.6, 2, 2.5, 3. And it's just not my deal. They're bottom mount battery, which I don't like. They're not very crashable. They sacrifice like everything for lightweight, and a part of that everything is durability, and I crash a lot. And I don't like having motors and I don't like having props in view. I hate having motors in view. So yeah, I doubt that I'll ever build another toothpick. But I've been having a blast with these top mount battery open prop setups. And I've done probably at least half a dozen of these builds this year here on the live stream. So lots and lots of content with these. This is not much heavier than a toothpick. The flight characteristics are better because we've got the battery top mounted. We've got very little to no props in view from having the camera up front. And so, yeah, I think this is a much better platform to build versus toothpicks. And yeah, I've been having, like I said, an absolute blast with these this year. Lots and lots and lots of live streams surrounding these. Most of you are probably sick of me talking about them by now. But it will continue. I've got a 3S capable AIO on the way to get the Caillou Mini back up in the air. I've been building most of these on 2S. This one was on 1S, and it'll be on 1S again once I get these right angle plugs on this X12. And then, yeah, we're going to go up another level to 3S on the Caillou Mini and see how that is. Uriel says, and Allie wants to give good service. We'll see. We'll see how long it takes this to get here. All TSFPV with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much, dude. He says, are there any 3-inch microframes that fit Vistas these days? Returning to the hobby, and I see they don't make the Torque FPV Hornet anymore. I've never heard of that. Yeah, there are loads of 3-inch microframes that'll fit Vistas because there are lots of 3-inch microframes that fit the 04 Pro. And the 04 Pro it's basically the same sized VTX and an even bigger camera. So they'll easily be able to fit a Vista. I think my favorite 3-inch frame at the moment for that setup, a big ass 20x20 VTX in the rear, is the Quadmula Siren F3. But there are lots of other options. Most, if not all, of the 3-inch freestyle frames nowadays are set up for that. So yeah, you got lots of different options. My 3-inch frame, which is out of reach right now, is actually not set up for that. It's set up for one central, either 20x20 or 25x25 stack. So it's more set up for like the 04 Lite or now the 04 Wide, or just analog. It was originally built around a 20x20 stack, an analog VTX in the back, and that's it. But it doesn't have this big fat ass that these new 3-inch frames do. Or I'll show you. So this is the Siren F3, and yeah, it's just got this big fat ass on it. Like, it's more of a long ass, but that's less fun to say. And so yeah, this is where you put the giant 20x20 brick of a VTX for a Vista 03, 04 Pro. And then yeah, plenty of room up front. Quadmula frames are they're a little expensive, but they're really, really nice, and they're not as expensive as like some of the FPV or Ken, or I forget his I get it all confused, but yeah, it's not $100+ frame, but it's also not a $20 frame. It's really good value for money if you're looking for something nice. And like, look, frames, you're not going to demolish the whole frame. You're going to break arms, but I think they give you one extra, and you should always order another extra. And so like spending more money on a frame makes a lot of sense, because like you're not going to break the top plate, you're not going to break the bottom plates, and really nice frames, like they're really nice for a reason. And so yeah, I dig the idea of I like where Quadmula is at. I like what their like price point, but still really good. They're not like absurdly expensive. They're just right. It's really good value for money. So yeah, this is my current favorite, and this guy has 03 in it at the moment. I gotta fly this more. This is very fun to fly, and 03 is good during the day. Jesus, it's 11:05 already. I'm gonna start playing this flight footage, and while it's let me stop asking good questions. Ryan Sadat says, you have any luck getting Beta FPV to send you a new 75 Pro or 65 Pro 2? They are sending me a 75, and I also asked if they could throw in a couple of the 65 frames, because I explained to them that like after I fly it out of the box, I'll do another live stream or two, tearing it apart, changing up the frame, the motors, the props, all that stuff. And Ellie, who is the main contact over there, was like, it's a really cool idea. So yeah, hopefully one will show up. I was talking to her about that last week, maybe as soon as we all got the email with it, I messaged her. So yeah, hopefully one comes on through. I'm cautiously optimistic. It's almost certainly not going to be a freestyle build. That canopy is going to be very heavy, and it's not going to crash very well. And so it's definitely going to be much more of like a cinematic-ish build, but could be really fun for like going downtown, right? And flying something infinitely safe that won't get jello, and that you'll be able to kind of do building dives with, not like super hardcore, absolutely locked in freestyle rig building dives, but like it should be good enough. We'll see. We'll see. Ryan also says, I can't figure out Throttle Expo on Betaflight 2025. Do you understand the new throttle mid versus hover point thing? Yeah, so basically, you're going to treat it just like regular Throttle Expo. And then if your hover point is not where you want it to be, then you're going to use that hover point adjustment. But ideally, you don't have to use that hover point adjustment. Basically, like the regular old Throttle Expo setup, the amount of expo changes how drastic the curve is, and then the midpoint moves up and down. The hover point adjustment moves left and right. So we now have all the axes of change on there. But you shouldn't use that hover point adjustment unless you need to. If you have a rig with like really powerful motors and the hover point is way too low, or a rig with really not powerful motors and the hover point is too high, you can use that adjustment to bring it in line with some of your other builds. But ideally, most of your builds should have roughly the same power to weight ratio, and so your hover points should be pretty close to one another. So you shouldn't have to use that. But yeah, that's all it does. It just moves that midpoint left and right. And left and right is the actual throttle value, I think. I forget. I will do a stream on it at some point because I do have to screw around with it. Alexor90 says, thank you. Do you know where the Caillou Mini is available? It's currently out of stock at the official reseller. Yeah, so there was a fire at the warehouse that all of the Caillou stock was stored. And so it might be quite a while before you can get your hands on the Caillou Mini. There are a bunch of other options. The sub 250G FPV stuff is awesome. And there's also the C110. This guy here that Nyafu very kindly sent me on the same website, cncdrones.com. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some other 2.5-inch options. I actually like the 2-inch ones better, to be honest. But the 2.5-inch ones are pretty good. Ryan says, Open Prop Meteor 75 Pro, he could use the Bando Turtle 1.8. All right, that's not for me. CFPV says, are there any 2S 5-in-1 AIOs around that are good? Yeah, there's a bunch. I actually did a whole live stream about that. So this little magnifying glass here is a godsend. It searches only in this specific channel. So if I search for best AIO, I bet you it'll find it. Yep. There you go. Best AIO for 04 Light 2S 75mm build. Thought there was another one. The FLYABLE is your best bet. The FLYABLE 12 amp is your best bet. I can just tell you. But there are others. The other way that you can kind of look that up, the other really nice resource right now, if you search for Caillou Mini on Google, it'll bring you to the caillou-frames.com page, and there is this awesome starter pack with some good info, some out of date / bad info. But like the motors section, I don't agree with almost anything in the motors section here. But there's this section here, AIO 3-in-1. 3-in-1 is what you want if you're going to run an external VTX. And this section is great. All 4 of these are really, really good. The FLYABLE is the best. I think the JHE-MCU would be my second best, maybe tied with the GEP-RC. And then the Happy model is my third favorite. The main thing I don't like about this is it's got a ceramic tower antenna for the ELRS, which it's fine, but these other ones have a UFL port where you can run an external ELRS antenna. But yeah, the FLYABLE is the best. The Goku F405, it's a little bit more expensive, but it's well worth it. So just find the FLYABLE and get that one. F405 AIO, 12 amp. That's the one you want. And then Mr. Clean says, looking to print a canopy with TPU air foaming, which can go down to 62A hardness. Thoughts if this will work well with O4 Light or cause more issues? It depends completely upon the canopy. If it's a really like structurally sound canopy, you might be able to get away with it. If it's a super lightweight canopy, it's probably going to be a floppy mess. But I mean, it sounds like you might already have the TPU, so just fire it up, print a couple different canopies and see how it is. That's pretty cool. Blueback says Caillou Mini is supposedly on the way to Pyrodrone right now. Awesome. Yeah, Pyrodrone is the main US reseller. Okay, so here we go. Diving into lots and lots and lots of flight footage. I'm going to talk you through what you're looking at while the footage kind of plays. So up first is the Air. Oh, so this is a one. We're going to start with the oddball. This is a 1.4 inch propeller build. This is basically an Air 65 V1 with, where's it at? So this is a Beta FPV Air 65 V1 that I moved into a Meteor 65 Pro frame that you can use the 1.4 inch, slightly bigger than the normal 1.2 inch props that we run on 65 millimeter whoops. So a slightly bigger propeller, Gem Fan, 35 millimeter S propeller. It's a biblade. It's the Gem Fan 1.4 inch biblade propeller. 0702 motors from the Air 65 V1. They are 27,000 kV. BT 2.0, of course. CO3 camera. One of my little ORT micro V antennas. This is a build that I put together to maximize float on 1S. And this is an indoor build. This is, you know, like really, really fun inside the house. And so also you're going to see me learn this spot. I kind of wish that I'd left these in chronological order. This is like 5 or 6 batteries in. But yeah, you'll see me like looking at different areas and like kind of figuring out like what can I do here, what can I do there. Hopefully that'll be kind of cool for you to watch. Because this is literally my very first time flying this spot. These guys had just left from getting this all done. And so yeah, this is a build that I put together. I kept it as light as I possibly could, which is the key. These 1.4 inch builds are really difficult because you can only run a 300 mAh battery on them. So if you put motors that are powerful enough for the bigger, heavier propellers, you just kill the battery in like a minute, and that hurts the battery, and it's super annoying. And so the key to these, I was having such a fun time throwing myself into the screen. The key to these 1.4 inch builds is to keep them absurdly lightweight. This one is 17.6 grams dry. The runtime does kind of suck, admittedly. Let's take a quick look at what it was, because I missed
All right,
it
now
there.
something on 1.4 inch props. This
shut
is
up,
a
past me. Let's pause it here, and it doesn't look like I disarmed at all when I was flying it. Although, was that a disarm? Nope, that was just me turning the OSD on. I shouldn't have flown these with the OSD off. I didn't realize it. So we ended up at 47,000 RPM, which is pretty good with the bigger prop because it's a biblade. Even though it's a bigger, draggier prop, it is a biblade. So these little itty-bitty 702s were able to crank them pretty good. These motors are direct soldered, which is one of the reasons that this thing is so light. So again, 17.9 grams, but you can see like 2 minutes and 25 seconds runtime. Like that's okay. It's a really efficient propeller, but we're asking a lot from it, and we're hammering around a lot. 47,000 RPM, 2 minutes and 30 seconds basically, and it looks like the battery is sitting at like 3.5 disarmed. So yeah, this is interesting. Not my favorite. This is more for like inside the house. If you want, this is as slow as you can possibly go inside the house. This is what it looks like. Really interesting build. Not my favorite. These propellers are big and draggy enough that these 702s struggle. And so this rig, it doesn't have the really good response time. It feels kind of like sluggy. Like when you hammer the sticks, it doesn't have that snap that the smaller propellered rigs have. And so that's the sacrifice, is the real like instant response. And when you're flying inside the house, that really does matter. Outside the house, it doesn't quite have the power. And so like this is a really interesting rig. I keep this together because it's a good like benchmark. Like it's really fun to have something that is as slow as we can possibly have it inside the house. It doesn't quite have the response time, but it still gets good enough runtime. More than 2 minutes is enough to not hurt the batteries. And it's just interesting. It's got a lot of float. Like you hammer the throttle, you wait that little bit of extra time because it is a little bit over-propped. This is considered over-propped. The propellers are a little too big and draggy for the size of the motor. But it does then get going, and then when you chop the throttle, it's bigger, and it's still lightweight, so it has a little bit of extra throw and float versus the 1.2-inch prop builds. And so it's really fun and interesting to fly, but it's not the answer. Like, it's not as good as the 1.2-inch rigs, but it's interesting, and so it gets to live. Also, you know, Beta FPV sent me this Air 65 V2. I you know, did the review and all that stuff, and then I just had it sitting there and it wasn't getting flown, so it was a perfect candidate to drop into the Meteor 65 Pro frame. One of the things I'm most excited about with the new Meteor 65 Pro V2 frame is that it's got the bigger battery bay, so that we can run 1S 450 mAh batteries in it. And that's really what these bigger propellers need. The 1.2-inch props are perfectly matched with a 300 mAh 1S battery. Any bigger on the propellers, and those little 300 mAh batteries are not big enough. So this is what you just watched. Not my favorite, but lots of float. Up next is we're getting all the bigger propped rigs out of the way. Air 75 V2 with a motor swap. Gep RC 1002 25,000 kV motors. These motors are
All right, this is now
kind of the only way to get enough flight performance out of a 1S 75mm rig, in my opinion. This flies good. It's a nightmare to tune because the new Matrix AIO does not have that front mounting point, and these Gep RC 1002 25,000s are very powerful motors. And so, yeah, tuning this thing has been a real challenge. But this is as good as it can get. Like, if I'm going to fly a 1.6-inch prop, 75mm motor-to-motor rig like this, I want it to be 2S. This is as close as we can get to 2S, but it's not there. You're going to see the runtime is pretty shitty. This is on a Beta FPV Lava V2 480 mAh battery. So, yeah, you can put this on a 550 mAh or 580 mAh battery and get more runtime out of it, but then the flight performance suffers. Like, this needs to be this lightweight to get the good flight performance out of it. And so, yeah, I keep this together because this is as good as it gets for 1S75, and a lot of times people ask about 1S75, and so I can put this in the air and say here. And like, look at that. Like, that was really gnarly. That's like a full house throw. But you pay for it. Like this AIO doesn't have that front mounting point, so we get like weird shit going on. It's a pain to tune, but it's got to be really lightweight. Like, this AIO is important because it's got the big 12 amp FETs. It's the only way to get the power out of these motors. So like, this is the AIO that we're gonna have to run on this. Yeah. And we're getting low battery alarms already. We're 2 minutes in. That's not too bad. But it's about done. And so I don't think I've disarmed. I did disarm in the grass. I got to go back and look at what RPM we were able to get. GemFan 1610 propellers on this. CO3 camera, Air 65 V2 canopy, one of my ORT Micro V antennas, BT 2.0, of course. And so 2 minutes and 19 seconds looks like 53,000 RPM, but let me look at when I crashed it in the front yard. Wait, did I not disarm it? Maybe I didn't disarm it. No, I did. 50,000. We actually got more RPM in the end there. So yeah, 53,429 RPM, 2 minutes and 20 seconds runtime, and the battery is sitting at 3.6. So see, this battery's sitting at 3.6. Like that's one of the ways that you know that like you're asking for too much. The problem that this thing has is that the battery sags like absolute crazy. Because in order to get enough power with these motors, we're just sort of asking too much from 1S. This is a perfect example of why 2S is the answer for 1.6 inch rigs. If I'm gonna fly something with propellers this big, I want it to have really good flight performance. Because I'm gonna be flying it outside, and I want it to be able to handle the wind and have enough power. And in order to get that amount of power, we've got to run these motors or the tree toppers. And now 1S is just not enough voltage, right? The same thing happened with 5-inch quads when we went from 4S to 6S. We got more power and more runtime. When you get more power and more runtime from going up in voltage, unquestionably, that means that you were running too low of a voltage. And this is the example of that. If you have a whole shitload of 1S 450 mAh batteries, this is fun as hell. If you buy this and don't swap the motors, you won't have as much of a tuning nightmare as I've been having with it. These motors are just really powerful because that's the kind of flight performance I want out of this. But yeah, you compare this with 2 minutes and change runtime to these 2S builds, getting almost 5 minutes with better power and better response time. Kind of a no-brainer, unless you have a bunch of these batteries, in which case this is very fun. But yeah, I would not recommend that build for many, if any, people. It just doesn't do anything better than 2S. The weight is 24.1 grams dry. I'm giving you all dry weights. So 24.1 grams. To give you some idea, the 2S build is 25.3. So, like, yes, the 2S builds are a little bit heavier, but Jesus, they make up for it. And you don't even notice it. Like, in the air, you don't notice the extra weight because the response time and the power and, like, everything is so much better. They're actually easier to fly because they're so much quicker. They react to everything that you do so much faster. 1S is perfect for 1.2-inch prop, 65 millimeter motor-to-motor builds. Any bigger than that, and 1S is not the right voltage. It's too low of a voltage. Oops. Up next is an 04 light rig. Just so that you can actually see what the backyard looks like. Here you go. This is basically a Mobula 7 04. Same, but not quite. This is actually a custom build. So this is a Mobula 7 V3 frame, the 2S frame that I really like, with one of those. I think this is actually a Beta FPV 12 amp AIO, but whatever, they're all the same. It's a 2S AIO meant for 04. It's got old school 04 on it. Not old school 04. It's got 04 light on it. The narrow field of view one, the original one. The Mobula 7 04 fixed up tilt canopy, the most durable canopy I've found. One of my Micro V antennas, BT 3.0, and then 300 mAh batteries. Oh, and GemFan 1610 biblades. I had to keep landing because the goggles Integra were fogging up like a motherfucker. My HD0 goggles were no problem whatsoever, but the goggles Integra were a nightmare. So unfortunately, I had to keep landing this thing. This is on motor plugs. The motors are Beta FPV 1102 18,000s. Yeah, 18,000s. Really, really nice motor. 1002s are I've had this on 1002, 14,000 and 18,000s, and they're totally fine. These Beta FPV 18,000 1102s are just a little bit better, though. Really nice propeller for this kind of setup. I had just gotten done flying 11 analog batteries, and then I flew this. And good God, could I feel and notice and tell the latency of the 04 system. It's still totally flyable, and I'm able to do a lot of the same stuff, but man, is analog more fun to fly. Like, obviously, we can see where we're going with this, and like other people can watch this flight footage and not be like, what the fuck is all this flashing and bullshit? What are you flying, an actual potato? But this isn't as much fun to fly. 04 is not, none of the digital systems other than maybe HD0 are as fun to fly as analog, because there's more latency, and like, I don't know, it's not necessarily fun to be able to see where you're going. It's a weird thing to say, but it is fun to have beautiful flight footage, but like, yeah, this was, I'm not going to say that this was tough to fly, because if I'd put a few more batteries through this, I would have absolutely gotten used to it. I usually fly like a couple of analog batteries and then digital, or I'll fly digital and then a couple of analog batteries, and like, I'll notice it, but it's not like night and day. Like that crash, for example, I just couldn't react. I didn't have enough time to react. This was wild. I've never flown this many analog batteries in a row and then over to digital. I was blown away. I was also flying through clouded up goggles. Like, I would wipe the goggles out and then put them on, and they would immediately start to fog up. And so like, some of the bad flying in here was literally because I was looking through fog. But yeah, this is what the backyard actually now looks like. Not in analog cloudy garbaginess. So yeah, there you go. Good runtime. I mean, 4 minutes, but I had to land a couple times. Up next here is the Hummingbird Race, I think. Nope, this is the Hummingbird V4. And that is me arming it and raising the throttle. One of the motors was spinning the wrong way. And hold on, I'll give you the audio too. The audio matters here. Hold on. Hummingbird. Here's the full audio from the goggles. Ready?
All right, so now we have Hummingbird V4. Oh my God. The full FPV experience. I'm not.
Yeah, so one of the motors was spinning the wrong direction. And so I just said the hell with it, because I had the Hummingbird Race out there with me as well. And that's what you're going to see next. Hummingbird Race V2 on HQ.
Fixing the Hummingbird. It's fine. I'm not fixing the Hummingbird. It's fine. It's a little bit heavier than this, but it has the same motors. This is the Race.
Hummingbird Race.
I believe Race V2 actually. Yeah, V2 with the
very similar to the V1, slightly different
new,
camera,
lighter,
a little bit lighter.
Yeah.
This was, aside from the 2S builds, this was the most fun to fly. Just because it's got the most power and it's the lightest weight, and this is a big area for a tiny little 1S build. And so this was really cool. Also, you've been looking at a couple different cameras. I've called the cameras out. If you're trying to decide on what camera you want for an outdoor whoop, this is a great live stream for that. This is the new BI camera, the new newbie drone BI V2 camera that has a smaller back to it. It looks just like the image looks just like the old school BI camera, and so yeah, dirty, most of the BI cameras look like this. The sky is very blown out.
Oh, it's windy. That's what's going on.
They're pretty good. The
Wonder why
BI
it's so hard
cameras
to
are
hit
pretty
this.
good. They're fairly
Let's get
wide
it.
angle.
I guess left to right wind-ish.
I like them. I like them a lot. The BI cameras are a really solid choice. The CO3 is the way to go in almost all situations. Like, it's just really, really good.
Do I cut this down?
Every single camera
At least
comparison
trim
that
it
we've
back.
done,
At least trim this branch
people
off, I
like the
think.
CO3 the most. This
Maybe
is me
leave the
looking
rest.
at that patch of leaves that I keep. You'll see me over and over hit that patch of leaves. I would love to try to figure out a way to cut it down, but I think it's just too high up there. It's that right there, the one I was just in front of. If I keep flying, when I keep flying back here, I'll learn to kind of deal with that. But I would love to cut that down because yeah, that right there, because it is right in front. But yeah, this was absolutely the most fun of these 1S 1.2 inch prop builds to fly. Just because, like I said,
hammered full
best
throttle
power
when
to
I
weight
came off,
ratio.
and then I
It's on a
but it was
Bri
too late.
Brain 25-degree up tilt canopy.
It could've pulled out of that
Janky
dive.
little wire antenna, super lightweight wire antenna. HQ 1.2 by 0.9 tri-blades. Other than that, yeah, totally stone stock
Shit out.
Hummingbird race. It's got their Hummingbird 0702 30,000 kV motors, NX69 with the Newbie Drone Nitro Nectar Gold 300 mAh batteries, and the Hummingbird AIO. Crazy rig, man. This thing is it's just so hardcore, you know. And the motor windings are direct soldered to the
low
AIO.
voltage.
It's like,
Warning is not set properly.
you know, there's
on
no
this.
USB port on it at all. You have this little dongle with pins that you have to drop down through some through holes in the board. Just banana pants.
All right, one more battery on.
I actually did a second battery on it, but I want to look at the RPM that we were able to pull on this thing. So let me find the first crash, first disarm. There we go. So it did.
Please no. Why do I crash so much?
62,162 RPM. That is madness. And then it ran for 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So 62,000 RPM, a new high. I had so much fun with it that I flew another battery with it.
It's just too good.
Here it is.
Ooh, quick decision.
Cool. Let me try to get caught up a little bit on chat. WKFPV says, can you explain why you don't agree with the Caillou Mini motor selection or why you think they chose those? I think they chose those not realizing that when you go up to a 12mm wide motor, you get a 2mm thick motor shaft below the bell, which increases the strength of the motor by a lot. It is a very not well-known fact that that happens. For me, it is a very well-known fact because for the last about 8 years, I've been trying to max out the durability of micros. One of the problems with micros has always been that they're not as durable as 5-inch rigs, which is insane because they weigh a fraction of what 5-inch rigs do. But
that's a cool hole there.
There have not been thousands of pilots flying micros hard all day, every day, like what has been happening with the 5-inch world. And so we haven't had the R&D cycle to figure this out, to figure out the perfect motor selection and the perfect construction of motors and whatnot. And so, yeah, all of these open prop builds where when you crash, you have a tendency to bash the propeller or even the top of the motor on the concrete. With a 1.5mm motor shaft below the bell, you can wreck a motor in one crash. You can literally first flight out with it. If you crash on a diagonal, inverted on a diagonal, and you hit the motor bell on the ground, it'll instantly bend that motor shaft, and that's just stupid. Like it's just stupid to have a build that's that fragile. And so the inside baseball thing that's going on here is that the width of the motor, the width of the stator, will give you a certain amount of room on the inside for your bearing. And so as the motor gets wider, 0702, 0802, 1002, 1003, 1103, 1202 and a
This is
half.
way too
When
much
you get
fun.
to 12 millimeters wide, there's enough space in the middle for a bearing that can have a bigger inner diameter.
Crash
And you can
recovery
put
all
a motor
day.
bell on there that has a 1.5 millimeter shaft up
There's a
above the
little bit of battery
bell
left, but
and a 2 millimeter shaft down below the bell. Up above the bell, we don't care about that because we use the T-mount screws, and they positively
now we have
mount
the,
the motor
indestructible
down to the
loop.
bell so that you don't break that 1.5 millimeter motor shaft up above. But you'll absolutely bend that motor shaft down below if it's only 1.5 millimeters and you bang it directly into the concrete. We get away with the smaller motors on plastic frame builds because when you crash these things, the motor mount is plastic, and so it moves and gives. This also goes into why carbon fiber frames on these little builds are a terrible idea. When you solidly mount the motor in carbon fiber, every couple of crashes you bend the shit out of the motor bell because 1 millimeter, 1.5 millimeter motor bells are just not enough. And so, yeah, any smaller than 12 millimeter wide motors only belong on plastic frames because that's the only scenario that they can survive without just you constantly bending motor shafts if you're flying hard, which you should be, because this is a very cheap hobby that is very easy to repair, all things considered. And so you should take advantage of that, and you should fly hard. And also, like, if you want to be a good pilot, you have to crash, and you have to crash a lot, and you have to crash hard. The only way to get better is to push yourself to your limits and beyond. And so start crashing more. Like, if you're not breaking shit in FPV, your improvement as a pilot is going to be very flat and very slow. Take advantage of the fact that you can fix these things inside of the house without punching metal cars, and you can replace and repair stuff very inexpensive, right? Like $10 for a replacement motor, couple of dollars for a replacement frame, a couple bucks for props. Yeah, take advantage of that. The newbie drone race that you were, hummingbird race that you were just watching, is 16.9 grams. Ridiculous. 16.8 grams, actually. The scale settled down a little bit. Yeah, that's what you were just watching me rip around. This was the most fun that I had on 1S yesterday, hands down. But I did have even more fun on the 2S builds. Up next is Indestructible Whoop. Indestructible 40,000 kV 0702 rig. Here comes.
all right, now we have the indestructible whoop.
The flight footage, and that is this guy. This is Newbie Drone Cockroach 65 V3 frame, which has the really tall ducts to be very slow. As you can see, it's very slow, great for flying inside. This is we're now going to get into the indoor specific rigs that don't make a whole lot of sense out here, but they're kind of interesting. So that's the frame. It's Weebleed 0702 40,000 kV motors with the 1.5 millimeter motor shaft, thus this being the indestructible whoop. Gemfan 1219S propellers, which is one of two good 1.5 millimeter motor shaft 1.2 inch props, the other one being the 1210, which I don't like as much as this prop.
Jesus.
Old school Mobula 6 upside down ball sack canopy, Runcam Nano 3 camera, one of my custom ORT micro V antennas that you can buy from my Etsy store, and BT 2.0. This is absolutely perfect for indoor flying, not quite enough for outdoor flying. Oh, the digital 04 light rig that I was flying is 34.7 grams. The 2S build that has 04 light on board. That crash right there went over the fence. When did it happen? Yeah,
God,
so I had like that
doing?
directionality.
Jesus.
Yeah, so I'm already above the fence. So I'm pointing towards now I'm going towards the fence. Right now, I'm behind the treehouse. I'm like right up above the fence right now, and I'm just desperately trying to push myself back towards the house. You could see the fence a second ago, and I got tangled up again. tangled up again, and now it's going. And yeah, you can actually see the fence. This is the fence here. And so it hits the tree and then falls straight down. The gate, the locked gate is actually like right there. And so, yeah, now I'm under the kudzu. This is the problem. And so what ensued here was about 10 minutes of me putting boots on. I had to go into the neighbor's yard, to go all the way down into the trench, and then like walk back up. This sucked. This was a shitty recovery here. And by the end of this, I was just absolutely soaked.
A little bit more indestructible whoop.
But the battery wasn't dead,
was
and so
recovery.
I flew the rest of the battery.
It managed to go over the fence.
The RPM and everything is going to be
So I had
like
to go
all
down here
wrong,
into
and the
the
runtime's
abyss.
going to be wrong. This is me showing you
It was,
where
like,
I
right
was. I
below
was
me
right
right
down there.
Pain in the ass.
So yeah, that sucked. But yeah, this is the indestructible whoop outside. Very, very slow because of the frame and the canopy. Kind of interesting. It has enough power for out here, but I don't know. It doesn't feel quite right. It feels a little too slow.
Why was that so hard a minute ago?
But yeah, an interesting comparison point
Battery
for
actually
sure.
low, or you just being
Runtime is
the
pretty
props
good.
are a little banged up.
This
Yeah,
battery
battery's
sat
low.
with
On to the
me
next.
turtle moding over and over and over again, so like the runtime that we got doesn't really matter. But yeah, this is a build that's specifically for indoor use. Now we're gonna go to two other very similar builds, the Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoops. The indestructible build is 18.7 grams. It's heavy, but it's slow, it's controllable, and it has enough power, and I love flying it. And I love the fact that you'll never bend a motor shaft on it. These next two are the Ultimate Freestyle Tiny Whoops, the old school formula before the 1.5 millimeter motor shaft. It's this guy and it's this guy. First up is the 36,000 kV version. These are both on 1 millimeter motor shafts. Same frame, same canopy, same camera. You're also now looking at Runcam Nano 3s. So this is Cockroach 65 V3 frame with the nice tall ducts to be nice and slow. Tiny Whoop 0702 36,000 kV motors. This is on the higher pitch HQ props. These are the HQ 31 millimeter by 3. I think they get called a lot of the time. What they really are is a 1.2 by 1.1 by 3. Great propeller, not durable at all. I had a crash yesterday actually that broke. I think it's in this video. It might be the end of this flight file here. This is the second time in a row on this build that it has broken 2 propellers at once. They just crack at the hub. Oh yeah, this is where there's some Teddy time in here. This is Teddy's first time out here, so I just followed him around a little bit. He was very confused. Yeah, Runcam Nano 3 camera, old school Mobile 6 canopy, ORT Micro V antenna. 2G4 AIO, the most indestructible AIO that we've ever had for Tiny Whoops. Very specific indoor build. Little bit out of its depth outside, but again, I'm giving you as many comparison points as possible. Look at that confused dog. I didn't know he was gonna piss, and I figured it would be kind of weird to just sit there and watch him pee, so I got out of there. As funny as it was, I figured I'd give him some privacy. This build is 17.9 grams, a little bit lighter because of the 1 millimeter motor shaft. Yeah, great build. These motor shafts absolutely do bend. It is a little bit annoying. They're pretty durable, but yeah, this is in no way, shape, or form an indestructible build because the 1 millimeter shafts are just anything but indestructible.
Oh God.
That's that patch of leaves getting me. I hit that patch of leaves a bunch. These were the first few batteries that I flew, so this is me really starting to learn the space here. That's about all I can tell you about this build, I think. That's about all there is to know about this build. Getting more caught up on chat. CFPV 66 has nice recovery from that tree. Thank you. There's a bunch of really good recoveries in yesterday's flying. Ryan Sadat says, I have an Air 65 Champ that suddenly started oscillating away with no changes after changing props. What would you check next? Change the props again. Yeah, that was
All right, that
two
was the green
the
rig, this
two
is the
rear
red rig.
propellers throwing blades, the hubs exploding. This is now the 40,000 kV version of the exact same build. Cockroach 65 V3 frame. This one is a little bit lighter for some reason, 17.6 grams. Oh, it's because this is on a Crazy G473 AIO with direct soldered motors. Other than that, same build. Same. No, these are different propellers too. This is quite a different build, I guess. So Crazy G473 AIO instead of the 2G4. I prefer the 2G4, to be honest. 40,000 kV Weebly motors with the 1mm shaft, direct soldered. The lower pitch HQ props, 1.2 by 0.9 by 3. Same antenna, same canopy, same camera, same frame. Cockroach 65 V3. This was the next battery that I flew, I think. And I weighed it for you. Ryan, yeah, change the props back. And then I don't think that AIO has black box, so you're going to have to just kind of blindly back the PIDs off. Random Pac-Man says, have you seen the Fractal SP8 1S AIO? It has a separate flight controller and ESC board and is only 4.5 grams. I have seen that. There's some weird history between Fractal and I. They put a t-shirt out poking fun at me, and I don't find it to be very funny. And so, yeah, they're not my deal. The guy just acts like an asshole a lot of the time for no real reason, and like, so yeah, I don't support that. There's no reason for that. Like, FPV is way too small of a hobby for people to be treating each other like assholes for no real reason. So yeah, the full story is that the Fractal frames are what I went with on the little RC drift car chasing setups because I love that the camera was all the way forward. And I spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of batteries and months trying to get those Fractal frames to fly good. And they just never did. The having a carbon fiber frame on a tiny whoop doesn't really make much sense. The motors bend motor shafts all the time because you've solidly mounted them. And so you bend motor shafts all the time. You sacrifice a bunch of thrust and efficiency because you've got the carbon fiber down there, and then you also have the ducts bolted to it. So you have all kinds of stuff under the propeller disc blocking thrust, and so you get less thrust, less runtime, worse durability. And I went through all of this learning and testing like on live streams, and I wanted them to work so bad. And apparently Fractal did not appreciate that and put out a shirt trashing on me. And I went to him and Infinity Loops and explained, like, not fucking cool. I don't appreciate it. Like, I'm willing to forgive and forget if you fucking stop selling it, because it's just not fucking cool. And they just said fuck off, basically. I mean, they just didn't say anything. And so, yeah, I want nothing to do with them. And, I whatever. It is what it is. People choose to act like assholes sometimes in the world. We just have to avoid them. We try to reason with them, and a lot of times they don't care. They seem to get a kick out of people hating them, and it's just the strangest thing in the world to me. But they're gonna do them, I guess. So yeah, I don't care about that AIO. Sorry. Ryan Sadat says, by the way, I noticed the props. All right, hold on. So let me get some other stuff going here before we dive into another hole. Indestructible. Okay, I got 2 more flights for you, and they're both 2S. What the hell happened to the 1002 14,000 kV one? Where is it? I guess I left it upstairs. Why I don't usually do that. Oh, weird. Whatever. Up first. Perfect. Up first is the 802 build.
All right, one more analog build. This is the one on 802's. Oh god, there's 0 up tilt. The up, okay.
So the up tilt has slipped here down to like 5 or maybe even 0 degrees up tilt.
There's so little up tilt.
You can tell because there's so much duct in view.
No, this is not a fair
I was gonna
comparison.
try to just fly through it, and it was a
slow.
bit
Let me
much,
fix
and
it.
so I landed here and got it under control.
That's tough to
This
fly.
is a. This is the one that's for sale, actually. That I played
Yeah,
a
it's
flight
down at,
video
like,
from today, a little bit
5
earlier. This is me
degrees.
flying it yesterday for the first time.
Easiest
In
way
the yard.
to set it is just
Mobula
so
7
much duct is
V3
in view.
frame, 300 mAh 2S BT 3.0 tiny whoop battery,
Okay, that's better.
HDLRC Spectre 2S
I'm gonna try
AIO
not to
12
crash
amp,
this hard because
Caddx Ant camera, old school Mobula 6 canopy,
6000
ORT
that
Micro V,
adjustment down.
custom length antenna,
When you crash
available
hard,
on
it
my
can get out
Etsy
of
store.
adjustment.
Gem
That's
fan
better.
1610 bi-blades for the durability. Now that I've got some up tilt dialed into it, I said, just don't crash it because it'll slip down into low up tilt again. I just need to put a dot
So this
of
is the same
E6000 on
exact
this
rig,
to keep it from
same
doing
build, but with
that. This
802s.
is 25.2 grams.
instead of 1002s. And
And
it's a little
so
lighter.
pretty
Still makes
light,
good power.
2S.
They're
Lots of
19,000
power.
kV.
This is the 802 19,000 kV version for this flight. I had it on
These are
90%
Gem
motor
Fan
limiting.
1610 bi-blades.
Today I bumped that up to 95%. It felt even better.
Oh, God.
This is what I'm really digging in the backyard right now. The response time, the
Just calm down,
crispness
just calm.
of
Don't
this
crash
of
one.
these 2S
You
builds.
just said don't
The
crash this
weight,
one.
the tall ducts, it all comes together, and like they're not too fast, they're not too slidey, but they've got enough power to just hurl themselves up these
Pretty good.
trees. They've got enough power to catch
the big
themselves on the
dive
ground
is
where I
where
don't
we're
have to
at.
like stand on the throttle at the bottom of these dives.
dive.
I can just blip the throttle at the bottom of the dive, and they just slam down on the ground in this like amazing way that I love so much, right? Like that.
1002s do better at the bottom like that.
Yeah, these are what I'm really digging. These have always been my most favorite rigs, whoops, to fly outside.
Oh God, why?
And this is
no.
a perfect example of that. Like the backyard is an absolute playground for these little things. They're controllable
micro
enough to like
antennas
dive
are
down
really
into the
impressive.
bushes like this, so you can do this like really in tight flying with them.
Oh God, don't crash it, he says.
Unbelievable that
And then
I go
goes
to
for
do the
impossible
most challenging power
through
loop
the tree
in the
branches.
entire area here, when I just thought to
we're
myself, just
back to
don't
0
crash
up
it,
tilt.
it'll slip up tilt again.
We'll fly the rest of this with 0 up
But this
tilt.
time I
It's a-
think I
it's a
did fly
different-
through it. So here's
thing.
some 0 up tilt flying.
It's a whole different
It's
thing.
so different. But it lets
do
you
this
fly
kind of
backwards
stuff
a little bit
easier?
easier. This is also a Caddx Ant camera that you're now looking at.
So like,
I think the Ant is my favorite of the cameras for flying outside here. The CO3 is a close second, and the CO3 is significantly lighter. So I think that one's still the best bet. But
Oh,
yeah,
God.
maybe
See, I don't
a
know where
tie
everything is
or
quite
second
yet.
place is these Caddx
to be able to
Ants.
get away with stuff like that.
They're a great camera. It's also really nice with these cameras that you can plug a little controller in and change the brightness, the contrast, the white balance, all that shit. You can't do that on any of the other tiny whoop cameras. Yeah, this is a blast. This is what I think I'm going to spend most of my time in the
Once you're
backyard
up there,
with is these
doesn't matter
2S
as
Mobula
much.
7 rigs. The one you're going to see next, though, is probably the one that I'm going to put all the time in with. It's the 1002 version.
Where's
These
that big dive?
802
Let's see the big dive
19,000s are
with 0
great.
up tilt.
They're a little bit lighter.
Oh, I've been getting into it yet from up over
Let
this
me
one.
let the
Let's
rest
see.
of this play out with audio for you.
Oh, shit.
Because I want to go
Oh my
find that
God.
rig because I want to weigh it.
Jesus.
So here you go. Here's a minute.
Oh God, why me? Why me? We don't learn lessons around here. It's that one branch that keeps getting me. I hate dives where you corkscrew down. I was doing it because I was afraid I was going to hit that thing. Let's do it for real. I mean, all I have to do is dive it from here instead. Oh, now we're talking. One more. if I go to the right a little bit? That's the move. Ooh! Yeah. That battery's done. Well, there you go. There's pretty much all my analog rigs.
What perfect timing. 51,992. Let me go back, and I want to look at that. I want to look at that RPM and runtime again. Okay. So, let's see.
All right, one more analog build. This is the one on 802s. Oh God, there's 0.
So 49,129. I don't think I had a big full throttle blast in there though. Where's the first disarm here? I definitely had some big full throttle moments there. Didn't I crash it in the front? I don't think I disarmed though. I didn't disarm it. Okay. Great, great, great. No disarms, no disarms, no disarms. Okay, so yeah, the 0802 19,000s on 90% motor limiting turned 52,000 RPM basically. So 52,000.
There's pretty much all my analog rigs.
Here we go.
All right, now
on
we've
to
got
the 1002
2S
RC and Power
version of the same build.
14,000 kV version at 100%
This is a
motor
totally
limiting.
custom build on a Caddx
So
Ant.
instead of
Camera looks
19,000,
really
we're
good
now
right here.
14,000. But instead of an 802, we're now a 1002.
1002s again.
Mobile 7V3.
But I want to say these are
Different AIO.
14 or
This is now an
15,000.
X12 AIO, but both 12 amp AIOs. Same propellers, Gemfan 1610. Same
Getting used to the
Caddx
throttle. Hover
no,
point
this
is much
now a
higher,
CO3
weirdly.
camera. Right? Yep, this is now a CO3 camera. So there's your camera comparison.
So it is a lot
the
slower
Ant and the
because
CO3.
this is a Mobula 7 V3 frame
Same canopy.
with a much taller duct
3.0
on it.
Tiny Whoop 2S 300 mAh battery.
And so we get a slower cruising speed when we're flat.
So I'm at
which you
54
get used
seconds. I want to know what RPM this thing pulls. So 14,000 kV instead of 19,000. The 19,000 is on a motor limit of 90%. Here we go. 56,025 RPM. So an additional 4,000 RPM from a motor that's 5,000 less kV. Although there is that 90% thing. Let me do the math real quick.
You should put the nose down a little bit more when you want to go faster.
15,000 kV. So there we go. So 18,000 kV times 0.9 equals. Oh shit! I didn't realize that
Makes it
drops
easier to
that
fly
much.
like really
So that
precise
drops
because
the
it doesn't
effective
slide.
kV
See it just
down to
turn? Like
14,580.
I'm going
So
forward,
that's
I
not
yaw,
very
and it
fair.
just digs
Oh,
in,
but
and it
today
just
I ran
goes.
it on
I don't have to
95.
like.
Hold on, let's see what it is.
I don't have to go like
I can
this
check
to
that.
corner.
So 19.
I can corner flat,
1,000
which I really
times
prefer.
0.95. Okay, so the flight I did today is the equivalent of 18,000 kV. So that'll be a better comparison point on that max RPM. But yeah, 1002 is a lot bigger of a motor.
I
than
tapped something over there.
802. It is heavier though. So the 802 version of this build that you were just watching is 25.3 grams. This 1002 build is 28 grams, right on the nose.
Oh,
So
awesome.
25 up to 28. But this build has better response time, more run time, because the wider motor is staying cooler, and more power.
Surfing
This
down
is
that
it.
diagonal
this
tree.
This build is
Where's that?
ridiculously fun.
What's happening at the
These
base of
RC
diagonal
Power
tree?
1002 14,000s.
Why are
on
you
these
so
Gemfan
diagonal, bro?
1610s are amazing.
You
That's
about
me
to
looking
break?
at this diagonal tree, looking at the base of it, trying to see if it's like rotting or
This
like
diagonal
what the hell's
bastard.
going on with it.
Although it's kind of cool. It draws like a line
But-
right up to the sky. Man, I
In
can
the
recording
recording,
see.
I'm saying it's cool. It draws a line right up through the trees.
That's sketchy.
I've never been above the trees back there. It's a whole different thing. I'm gonna be spending some time back there. But man, like
Oh,
this
this
is
is next
it
level,
right
having
here.
the front of the
This
house.
this has always been my
FLYABLE
favorite
as well.
outdoor whoop, and even more so now. I think this is where I did the
Oh,
first
for
big
Christ's sakes.
over the house
That was a
throw.
stupid crash.
Let's see. Yeah, I think it's coming up here. Nope. Yeah, man.
Oh,
This is
God.
it. This
What
is
was
the
that
jam.
about? What am I doing?
X12
Why?
Mobile
I just
7
crashed
V3
right
frame.
into it.
You might be able to do it in a Mobile 7 V4 frame, but the USB port gets in the way. I'm sure you could figure it out. You could just space the AIO up real tall, but like, I don't know. The Mobile 7 V3 frame is my
I thought I
favorite.
could clear
It's
it. I
just
got
too
lucky.
good. The Mobile, the V4 frame, you've got to like cut supports out of the frame to get the 2S batteries to fit. It's a whole big thing. Just get the V3 frame.
Look at the runtime on these 2S batteries, 2S300.
We're already at 3 minutes and 30 runtime.
And there's no
I think this
sag.
thing
It
ends
makes
up
the
going
same
for
amount
like
of power the entire
almost
battery.
5
It's
minutes.
great.
This might have been over 5 minutes. The V3 frame has the big tall ducts, so the cruising speed is fairly low,
A little wibble
and like
wobble.
that makes this feel like a bigger, like a bigger area. Like my indoor 1S builds out here, they do the same thing, but then they don't have this like massive amount of power, and they don't have the weight for the throw. This is this beautiful mix of like
I let it hang
weight
too long.
for throw,
Oh, I got a little dangler.
power for the momentum for the throw.
I got it.
But then when you're cruising, they
Where's those
don't
two
like go
trees that I can go
screaming
skyrocket
around.
in
Like
between?
I'm
Is it these
probably
two?
like
It's
I'm
these two.
gonna,
There's
but
nothing all
I'm
the way
probably
to the
not
top
gonna
here.
fly an open prop rig back here more than like once or
Okay, so
twice
it's those
because it's
two.
gonna make this area feel way too small because it's gonna be sliding all over the place, crashing in the neighbors' yards
God.
and shit.
Nope.
This is a whoop
I'll
spot.
make sure I get perfectly vertical up them.
But man, the bit like that's it. That's it right there. This is the perfect example. Ready? Full throttle,
God.
off the throttle.
Nope.
Watch this again.
Okay, got
Watch the full throttle over
Where's
here.
those
Ready?
two trees that I can go skyrocket
And-
in between? Is it these two? It's these two. There's like nothing all the way up.
So
to
on the
top
next
here.
one,
Okay,
like
so
I'm not
those two.
hanging on full throttle. I'm just blipping it. Ready?
So.
And full off.
Oh God.
What is that? Like an eighth of a second
make sure I
at
get
full
perfectly
throttle, and it
vertical up 'em.
hurls itself up that tree enough that I chop the throttle. It keeps going up, and then it comes back down. That's what you get from
that's
2S.
about 4
That's what
minutes
you
and
get
40.
from
You
these
kidding
builds.
me?
4 minutes and 45 seconds.
The magic of 2S.
Crazy. 55,787. All right,
Big
I want
one
to
up.
check the 802 rig real quick from today to see what that, to see the RPM that pulled. That was the second to last thing that I flew. Here it is. And yeah, so there's me turning the motor output limit up. And so where's the first disarm? I didn't disarm it at all. Look at me. 54,250. So there we go. 54,250 with the 802s turned all the way up. In fairness, I should have, but I did not do my normal routine of fresh battery, take off, full throttle for a half a second or more to get like a proper RPM reading. I was just flying. And so maybe on the 1002 rig, I only went full throttle after a minute of flying for long enough to let the motor spin all the way up. But regardless, the 1002s on a 1.6 inch propeller have enough grunt to really control that propeller perfectly. 802s come damn close, and the rig is lighter, which some people love. If you have a smaller space, if you want to focus more on ducking in and out of bushes and shit, the 802s are awesome, and they're just so goddamn good. But look, you have to get close to the same RPM. You got to have them set up with like 4,000 extra kV, right? And that's the other thing that I want to kind of talk about here is that like we can get almost the same amount of power from a smaller motor if we keep cranking the kV up on the motors, and that's important to understand. 702s are the perfect example of that, right? Like 40,000 kV 702s, they're not spinning up to that full RPM, but by winding them for that higher kV, they are a lower resistance motor and will make more power. Not as much power as they should, not as much power as a bigger stator motor would make wound to that same kV, but still, one of the ways to have a lighter weight motor that still makes really good power is to like exaggerate the kV that you run within reason. If you go way too far, then the motor gets way too hot and the performance actually suffers. And so there's a fine line of like running a motor that's over KV'd to where it becomes way too much and the performance suffers. You can get a little bit more performance out of winding a motor to be an abnormally high KV, but if you go a little bit too far, you like fall off the cliff. And these 802 19,000s at 95% motor limiting, they are right on the edge of that cliff, and they're cool. They're maybe like one step back from the edge of the cliff. They're not like about to fall off, but they're really close. These 1002 14,000s are a bunch of steps off that cliff. The build is heavier. It's almost 4 grams heavier because of it. But the flight performance and the efficiency is where you see it. The fact that this is running for 5 minutes is absurd. And in the process of that extra efficiency, you do get better response time. You do get a slightly better flight experience, other than the fact that it's heavier and it will slide a little bit more. And so what do you want? Do you want like an all-around better flight experience with more efficiency? Or do you want to absolutely min-max that shit and have a motor that's a little too small? You sacrifice a little bit of flight performance, a little bit of prop wash handling, a little bit of response time, but you have something that's physically lighter weight, and the physically lighter weight will make it corner like it's on rails even more. This is how you perfectly build the rig for you. That same exercise, 1002 versus 802, you can do on these smaller guys, 702 versus 802. Not really. The 702s are definitely the way to go on these, but this scales up and scales down. On a 5-inch build, 2207s versus 2306 and a halves. On a 3-inch build, 1404 versus 1604 or 1405, right? Like this happens all over the place in FPV. It's hard to know like where you're going to be at, right? It's hard to like, you build a 3-inch rig and you put 1404s on it. Well, is that exactly the right size? Is that a little bit small? Is that a little bit big? That's what I'm here for. You know, I've tested enough of these things over the last literal decade that I can help you with that. That is why the people that have gone to my website and go to my Fiverr page and hire me for a half an hour or an hour of build planning is what I call it. That's why these people have rigs that are perfect for them, because I ask them a shitload of questions and dial in on what will probably be the perfect motor size, KV, frame, prop size, battery, everything for them, because I've just done it for long enough. This is what makes building the perfect rig difficult, but also pretty fun, because you get to try a bunch of different props, motors, frames, sizes, batteries, voltages. It's fun, but it's also expensive, because the only way to really do it, since we're all completely different pilots from one another, is to buy a bunch of stuff. Like, you can get in the ballpark, but then you got to buy a bunch of different propellers, bunch of different batteries, bunch of different motors, and you got to mindfully do the testing, right? The other problem that we run into is that a lot of people are not good enough pilots to be able to tell. And like the I just spent a bunch of money, I better not have wasted it, is strong. And so like you try the next, you know, set of motors that you just bought, and you're like, oh, I love these. Yeah, you love them. You just spent $80 on them or $60 on them. And then you try the fourth set of motors and you really love those too. And at the end of it, you're like, well, shit, I loved every single one of them. It's tough. You have to be a really good pilot to be able to tell the difference between these things. The difference between a 1604 and a 1404 is not super evident. Like, you got to dig to try to figure that out. And I try my best to arm you all with how I've been able to do that over the years, right? It's looking at the RPM. It's looking at the runtime. It's feeling for response time. It's looking at the prop wash handling. It's all these things that we talk about. But it's hard. It's legit hard. It's hard for me. And if it's hard for me, somebody that's been flying for this long with this many batteries that, you know, was able to do it full time for the last like 4 years, how the hell are you going to be able to do it? So yeah, it's tough. It's frustrating too, but it's fun. It's part of the FPV hobby that a lot of people consider to be fun. Myself, one of them. It is 12:12. Oh boy, am I behind. Okay. I'm gonna try to go through these as fast as I can. If you don't get enough of an answer, I apologize. Come back to the next stream or hit me up on Fiverr and buy half an hour of my time so that I can keep doing this and you'll get one-on-one answers to your questions in a setting where I can actually like get feedback from you. Okay, so wow, there's a lot here. Okay. All right. Ryan Sadat says, by the way, I noticed the props on the stock Air 65-2 1207s are by far the most efficient outdoor props for 65 millimeter. They absolutely have no grip though. They feel like flying a bar of wet soap. Interesting. They should have just as much grip as all the other tri-blades. I don't know why they would have less. Maybe it's because they're low pitch. They should not be more efficient than the HQ bi-blades though. I guess maybe the HQ bi-blades are so much more pitchy, but a bi-blade versus a tri-blade, there's almost no amount of pitch on the bi-blade that you can run for it to not be more efficient. So that's interesting. It could only possibly be because of the low pitch though. 07 is very, very low pitch. I don't like those propellers because they're super fragile, but that's just me. Ryan says, makes sense why Beta FPV chose those props. So they could get runtime out of their high kV motors. When I switched to the HQ ultralight, I lost 30 seconds of runtime. Ryan also says, remember we found on stream that tuning difficulty was not the Matrix, but the Air 75 V2 frame. On the 75mm frame comparison stream, when you dropped it in the Mobula 7 frame, it flew better. Better, yes, but there are still issues on the pitch axis always with the Matrix AIO. So not having that front mounting point absolutely does matter. Ryan also says the real dilemma is added weight and slowing the rig down with the tall ducts on the Mobula 7 V4, but losing the notch filters. Also found the Air 75-2 frame to not need notches on 802 motors. Yeah, when going to a lower powered motor, tuning becomes a lot easier because the motor is not so like on top of things. Going to a smaller motor is pretty much the same thing as just moving the PIDs down. Abdul says 2S whoop flies up even if I drop the throttle until I start to lose control and have to disarm. This happens a lot when props get beat up. 1102, 14,000, and GemFan 1610. Any ideas why? You told me why. It happens a lot when the props get beat up. When the props get beat up, what happens? They vibrate, right? Vibrations, the error correction, the PID loop, doesn't understand vibrations. And so if you have too much vibration, it's going to vibrate one way, and the error correction is going to go, oh shit, error, and it's going to push back in the other way. Well, there was no reason for it to push back the other way because it wasn't caused by the wind or anything. It was caused by a vibration. Well, guess what? The vibration's about to go in the other direction. And so it tries to correct for that vibration. It does something wrong and creates its own error. And then the vibration happens in the other direction. And it goes, oh shit. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. And so it just, and so this is why beat up props, this is why we can't run beat up props because they cause too many vibrations. So the way around that is to change your props more often. Stop crashing as hard as you're crashing. Don't do that. Change your props more often. Or back the PID tune off. The more aggressive the PID tune, the more often and the earlier it's going to push back against what it thinks is error. So if you back the PID tune off, if there's a vibration, it might not even have a chance to react to it before the vibration happens in the other direction. And so you can get some vibration and you don't have the PIDs cranked up so nervous and it won't even attack those vibrations. And so you can either back off your PIDs or change the props more often. Also what happens is that the motor shafts get bent up. And so the motor shaft gets bent like this, and now the prop wobbles, and that causes vibrations. And so take your props off, spin the motors up really slow, and put your fingernail next to the motor shaft. And if it's bent, you'll feel it hit your fingernail. If it's not bent, it'll be smooth. And so you probably have, if you've been banging up propellers, you almost certainly have banged up motor shafts. And so even if you're running fresh props, the motor shafts are bent and the prop is wobbling, causing the vibrations. The problem you're having is too many vibrations. And so you need to eliminate vibrations. You do that with non-bent motor shafts, non-beat up propellers, frames that are more stiff, screws that are tightened down and not backing out and vibrating, a flight controller that is more soft mounted, right? We run these rubber grommets on the corners of the flight controller because the flight controller is where the gyro is that senses this motion. And so if the gyro and the board that it's on are on nice rubber grommets that are floating really nicely, not like cranked down with too tight screws, it can float and the vibrations can happen underneath it without imparting those vibrations into the flight controller where the gyro lives. Also electrical noise. Electrical noise, the error correction has no idea what it is and it'll try to correct against it. I'm getting gray, man. I'm going gray. That's all right. I'll look good all salt and pepper, I'll bet. So there you go, brother. Lots of reasons why. Really good bad boy put a comma after CiottiFPV so it didn't light up in orange, but I just happened to see it. My Mobula 8 2S analog order was auto-canceled today. Where will you list your Mobula 7? Planets Aligned? If you want it, message me and it's yours. If I don't have to list it, I won't, because it costs me to list stuff. So if you want this, it's all yours. You just got to see how it flies. I think I went over the whole build. It's not brand new. I've flown this not a lot, but this probably has 50 to 20 batteries through it. It's pretty early though. This will probably fly another at least 2, 3, 4, 500 batteries before I would even remotely worry about it. You can see like the frame is starting to show a couple of these creases, but boy, these frames will crease way worse than that. Where's one that I've really pounded on? So this one I've pounded on pretty good. There's a lot of life left in this. The motors only have probably about 10 batteries on them, and they are 1.5mm motor shaft motors, so they should pretty much last forever. Canopy is super clean. Canopy's not all beat to shit. Usually these things start looking more... I'll show you one that I've flown hard to give you an example of what they look like. I don't know where it is. Here it is. No, that's not one of the canopies. This is this one's yeah, been flown but not been abused. This has never been abused. This one got more abused, but it's covered in green, so you can't really see how much worse it is. But like this canopy is glued together on the top and the front here. There are more, yeah. So here, like this is where they start to really get creased up. Yeah, you can't see it because of the grass stains. You can kind of see it there, the little crease right there. But yeah, this one's in good shape. Message me and it's all yours. Uriel says, nice treehouse. Can I stay there secretly? No, you will. That treehouse might need to come down. It is not looking great. I am afraid to go up into it. When I crashed in it, I was really worried because I don't want to have to go in, and I'm afraid it's going to fall out of the goddamn tree. King Crimson says, thoughts on the Carbon Fury for indoors? My main thought is that it's going to leave marks all over your house and break the things that you own. It's also going to be hysterically fast. Having just a little tiny piece of carbon fiber instead of a nice vertical surface, it's going to be incredibly slidey and incredibly fast. So I think it's just going to be incredibly difficult to fly inside the house. If you're a top tier racer, I think it's going to be your go-to because of how fast it's going to be. But if you're not a top tier racer, I think it's going to be rough. But it's cheap, and you're supporting Atreides, who is an awesome dude. So maybe just get it and try it. But yeah. Uriel says there are more people outside the mental institution than in there. Varden says check out the Start FPF R8 frame, 80 millimeter with 40 millimeter props, front mount cam, top mount battery. Built one on Matrix 2 CO3 802 tree toppers. Love it. Start. Let's see. Start FPF. Start. Is this the Amazon frame? I think I've seen this on Amazon before. Yeah. This is the top mount battery frame. Not my thing, but definitely interesting. This duct. Oh, God damn it! These fucking websites that don't let you click pictures. The way that these ducts mount to the frame here is similar to how the Mobula 8 mounts, and it's almost certainly going to break in those sharp angles, just like the Mobula 8 does. I've never heard of this company, Start RC, and so they have not had enough time to make a bunch of products and get a lot of feedback on them, and so we usually try to stay away from those. Definitely an interesting frame, though. Definitely interesting frame. Not for me, but yeah, pretty cool. I love that it's top mount battery, but yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that you like yours. That is all that matters. Uriel says, easy to cut, do it slowly, one by one, watch a goat on YouTube. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. Ryan Sadat says, what build is your X14 in at the moment? Oh boy, I'm not sure. One of these. It's in the only build that I didn't fly yesterday. The Mobula 8, the analog Mobula 8. It's in that. Ryan also says, do you prefer the RC and Power 1002 18,000 with a motor limit or 14 at 100? Always the right KV at 100%. Don't use the motor limit if you don't have to, especially if you have to go down to like 80%. Like to bring the 18,000s down to 14,000, you got to motor limit to 80%. 90% motor limit is totally fine. Anything less than 90, you're going to start to have negatives. And so, yeah, the 14,000s at 100% are unbelievable. Ryan also says, think about putting together a 1.8 inch analog build, the Happy Model M80 frame, X14, RC and Power 1002, 14s, HQ Bi-Blades. What are your thoughts? The HQ Bi-Blades are going to break all the time. Other than that, that'll be awesome. Yuke says, how do you think the 1202.5 Happy Model 11,500 would compare to the Beta FPV 1102 22,000s on 1S? I see the Happy Model motors in toothpicks sometimes. No comparison. 1102 on 1S versus 1202.5 on 2S. It's going to be night and day. The 1202.5s are going to make ass loads of power and be super durable. The 1102 22,000s are going to make enough power on a light enough build. They're going to be much less efficient, though, much less power, and they're going to be less durable because 1.5 millimeter motor shaft below the valve versus 2 millimeter on the 1202.5. So, yeah, night and day difference between what you're going to be looking at there. Is the 1202.5 is going to be slightly overpowered, and then the 1102 is going to be underpowered. Not like super underpowered, but underpowered. Ryan set out with a $4.99 super chat. Thanks for testing all the things. Thank you. It's Brandon says, best prop recommendation for Hummingbird V4. There's no such thing as best. Almost ever. So get the word best out of your vocabulary. It just doesn't exist. The only scenario that it exists in is like for you for a specific scenario. So like for you specifically flying in your basement that is 400 square feet, yeah, there might be a best, but never ask somebody else what the best is. if they haven't like rattled off 20 or 30 questions to you to figure out what your best is. This is what my Fiverr is. This is what build planning does on my Fiverr. It gives me the opportunity to talk to you guys one-on-one and ask you the 20 plus questions for me to figure out what is probably the best for your specific scenario. But never, ever, ever ask someone what the best is that you haven't spent those 20, 30 minutes with. Because when you ask that, when you ask someone what the best is, all they're going to tell you is what they like. And they're a different person flying in a different spot with a different background, with different taste in flying, right? And so when you ask that question, when you ask someone on the internet what the best is, the answer that you get is horrible. It is absolutely useless. And it is probably going to do more harm than good. And so, like, be careful of people that answer that question, right? Because, like, somebody that you ask a question like that to that just gives you an answer, they don't care. They don't understand this, and they just don't care. Maybe they do understand this, and they just want to shut you up, and so they just tell you what's their favorite, and they look like a fucking hero to all the other people that they'll never meet. But, yeah, try not to ask this type of a question because it just breeds horrible answers. Hummingbird V4 is kind of heavy. You want to get that newbie drone canopy off of there. That's a bad, heavy canopy. Put like any other canopy on it and you'll be better off. 3D print a BriBrain. If you don't have a 3D printer, I sell them on my Etsy store. Get yourself the other really good canopy at the moment is the Beta FPV Air V2 canopy, nice and lightweight. That's going to make a big difference on there. It's still a pretty heavy build, and so most folks would probably gravitate towards a more pitchy kind of propeller. If you're going to be flying it indoor only, you're going to want a tri-blade. Usually, most people want a tri-blade versus a biblade for the extra grip. And then, so me personally, on that build, I would run the HQ 1.2 by 1.1 by 3. It's their old propeller that sometimes just gets called the ultralight 31 millimeter. That's what I personally would want because I would want more power out of that rig. If it already has enough power, then you can go with a lower pitch version of that prop. If it has too much grip, you can go with a biblade version, the HQ biblade prop. If the HQ biblade props break too often for you or you crash too much, then you want to get away from them. You want to get on to Gemfan props. See what I mean? There is no best. There's just different. And so, yeah, try not to ask what the best is ever on the internet because it's just the people that respond to that are people that don't know shit. Because the people that do know shit, they see that question, they realize there's no way to answer it without typing a fucking diatribe like I just gave you. And they won't. They won't bother answering because they know that their answer is worthless. And so, yeah, by asking that kind of a question, you're kind of guaranteeing that the least knowledgeable people are going to answer it. And so, yeah, the questions that you want to ask are way longer. I fly here. I crash a lot. I don't crash a lot. I like rigs with a lot of power. I've been flying for X number of days or months or years. You got to beef up a question to get a half decent answer. So, Brandon, this is not me picking on you at all. You are the millionth person that has asked a very similar question. This is me trying to help as many people as possible to ask good questions on the internet and get good answers on the internet. Do not take this as me picking on you at all. On Friday's live stream, somebody will ask me what the best something is. Sometimes I launch into this diatribe when I'm in the mood. Sometimes I ignore the question. I usually don't ignore the questions, but I try my best to answer. But yeah, there you go. FPV is tough. There's a lot of options. Everything affects everything else. And so like FPV is the perfect the perfect horrible scenario for bad information. And Reddit and Facebook groups, and to be honest, most places where you ask FPV questions, the quality of the answers is pretty awful. And what I usually see is worse than 50% wrong answers. So yeah, be careful out there, because most people don't have anywhere near enough of a background and haven't tested enough stuff to have any clue how to answer a lot of the questions that we all have. And so what you end up with is people just spouting what the most recent thing that they bought that doesn't fly horrendous or catch on fire. And there's a whole world out there of stuff that doesn't just fly, but flies really, really good, but you got to work for it. So, C. Turner with a $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Varden says Nick Burns did a review and it's super durable. Nick Burns did a review of what? Uke says, no, they are running the 1202.5 on 1S. That's why I was asking how they would compare. Well, it's half the KV, so that's going to be a problem. Where was that previous comment? Here we go. 1202.5, 11,500 versus 1102, 22,000. So that 1202.5 is a 2S motor. So if you run that on 1S, I don't know if it's a heavier build, it might not take off. So yeah, that's easy. You can't run a 1202.5, 11,500 on 1S. It's just not, it's not meant for it. So yeah, on 1S, the 1102, 22,000 is absolutely the way to go, just because of the KB. If they made a 1202, see, I can't answer this because I don't know what the weight of the build is. I don't know if it's a 5-inch prop or a 1-inch prop. Like I don't have enough to answer this fully, but I can tell you that on 1S, a 1202, 11,500 just ain't gonna work. I guess unless you put like the world's lightest weight 5-inch prop on it or something like that, but you're not gonna do that. Jesus, it's 12:30. I am fucking working for it tonight. Head on over to CiottiFPV.com if you like this kind of content, would like to see it continue, because I rely on all of you. I am unfortunately having to look for a real job again, but I'm going to continue doing this as much as I possibly can, which will realistically probably only be 1 or 2 nights a week, but I'm going to do everything that I possibly can. Hopefully we can get the fascists out of the government as soon as possible so that our economy can recover. But yeah, if it's gotten this bad in the last 2 years, with gas almost tripling in price, can you imagine how bad it's going to be 2 years from now? Holy shit, we're fucked. Ryan says, I think other than just the number of blades, grip and efficiency can be impacted a lot by the blade profile and surface area. Yes, agreed. Brandon says, understood. Maybe I should have asked most durable. Now we're talking. I've been flying a lot outside in my yard and smacking it around about, denting some props. Yep. It's super important to add as much context as you can. Ryan says, Euro's comments on this live stream are like ketchup on fries. Fries are wonderful on their own, but they're even better with ketchup, as always. Euro's the best. Uke says, thank you. I saw them on a 1S 3-inch toothpick. Going back to the 1202.5, I think you're talking about the 1202.5s. Yeah, okay. On a big enough propeller, 11,500 might make enough power, but man, a 3-inch prop is going to be, usually we run a 1404 on a 3-inch prop, right? And so like 1202.5 versus 1404, obviously like the 1202.5 is going to be super over propped. There are some 3-inch bi-blades that are somewhat lightweight, but like, yeah, a 1202.5 on any 3-inch prop is going to be pretty sluggy and pretty like low shit response time, I should say. So yeah, that, and 1S on a 3-inch is just all wrong. Don't do that. The biggest for me, the biggest I'm ever going to run on a 1S is a 1.2 inch prop, right? So yeah, that's a bad idea. Ryan Sadat says Uke is asking about 3-inch toothpick builds with the 1202.5. It's the configuration on the Happy Model Crux 3 1S. Gotcha. Ryan also says, how many super chats do we need to help you keep doing this full time? Essentially $1,000 more a month, unfortunately. All things considered, I make around 400 a week or so, which is pretty tough to live on in America in 2026. When I have flying gigs, I can survive. When I don't, it's really, really, really rough. And unfortunately, you know, in the last 2 years, with the prices of a lot of things literally doubling, some of them tripling, yeah, I'm not even close. And it's, you know, it's expensive to live in this giant house with 2 children. So yeah, it sucks. I'm heartbroken, but I'm working through it as best I can. I had a good run. I'm very, very, very lucky to have gotten to do this full time for the last 4-ish years. Most people won't get that opportunity, and so I'm trying not to be a fucking crybaby about all of this. But I think I'm really good at this. I enjoy doing it, and I don't know. It's just it's heartbreaking that so many people like myself are having to give up on their literal dreams, so that a handful of people can get that are already infinitely rich can get even more infinitely rich. You know, it just absolutely breaks my fucking heart into a million pieces. For all of us trying to do something really cool that adds a lot of enjoyment to people's lives, that have to bail, you know. And unfortunately, with the way that a lot of this shit works, like when you stop, you lose years of progress. And so it's, you know, it sucks. But, you know, life sucks sometimes. It's a big old shit sandwich that we all have to take a bite of from time to time. And, you know, looks like now is my time. So, you know. LOL Smoke Show LOL says, Tiny moved through in a pair of 802 19,000 kV Pegamoose motors with a recent order. That's pretty cool of them. What the heck do I do with these things? I'm thinking something kind of novel to fit their name. 2S 802 19,000 kV is a wonderful motor for a 2S 1.6 inch build, or you could probably even go up to like a 2-inch build. But they're absolutely perfect on GemFan 1610 bi-blades on 2S with a somewhat lightweight build. Rewind a little bit for some flight footage from this and a conversation about it from tonight's stream. Ryan says, I think as much as it might not be fun, you need some of us to help you capitalize more on your FPV knowledge, not just through gigs, such as building and selling your indestructible whoop as a bind and fly with a 30-40% markup on your Etsy. I've tried building and selling stuff. It is one of the worst ways to make money in FPV. There is, in order to charge any amount of markup, you have to sell for orders of magnitude more than all of the bind and flies that are out there. Nowadays, the bind and flies are unbelievably good, and there's kind of no reason to not buy a bind and fly. And so, like, I would have to sell stuff for more than double what you could buy a bind and fly for. And then the main problem, though, is that somebody bought something that they're gonna break from you. And so inevitably it generates a whole bunch of post-sales support. And yeah, many have tried to build custom rigs and sell them. I don't know of anyone in 10 years that has survived that continues to do it. It just doesn't work. You can't buy the parts. You literally can't buy the parts for less than what the bind and flies cost. And so you end up having to sell something for literally twice as much as the bind and fly that flies maybe 10% better if you're lucky. And it flies 10% better for a very specific kind of person. Like ideally, the only way to do it would be to not sell anything and to sell a build planning session where you spend a half an hour asking that person exactly how they fly, where they fly, all that stuff, so that you can then build the absolute perfect rig for them. So now you're an hour into pre-sales, you're another hour or two into the build itself, and now you got to mark it up like triple the price of the bind and fly. And like, who in their right mind would, myself included, buy one versus buying three? All day long, I'm going to buy 3 bind and flies that I can send to their fucking doom, versus a build that's maybe 20% better flight performance from that pre-sales, from, you know, custom build. It just doesn't work. Again, many have tried. None have done it for any amount of actual time. It just doesn't work financially, or you know, it just doesn't work. So I guess that was this comment from Ryan. Next Ryan comment is oh wait, no, I guess I maybe got that one. I'm sure there are ways we could brainstorm even on stream together on how you could make more money off of FPV. You have a lot of knowledge and value you can bring to the table. I appreciate like you guys wanting to help, but food for thought. I've been doing exactly that for the last 5 years really. So for half a decade, I've been doing that kind of all day, every day. And yeah. Ryan also says, what are your thoughts on cranking out more short to medium form content and trying to search for more sponsors? I'm sure many people in the community could help you find more sponsors. Short, medium form content is a mega amount of time and effort with minimal results. The audience that watches shorts doesn't have money typically. They're younger folks, and they place very little value on shorts. Again, sort of long story short, I've been doing this for the last 5 years. I've been, you know, I've had one of the best mentors you could possibly ask for in the game, which is Joshua Bardwell. I know it doesn't seem like I know what I'm doing a lot of the times, but believe it or not, I do. I've spent a hideous amount of time and effort trying to, and succeeding for a long time, way longer than most, right? Like, how many FPV people do you know that have been able to do it full time? Not many. It is incredibly rare what I've been able to do. Many have tried, and not many have been able to make it work. It's a fucking miracle that I've been able to make it work for this long. And if it weren't for prices on living going up so drastically, so quickly, I'd be able to still do it. And that would be cool. But, you know, we are watching America collapse, and people that aren't making tons of money get it the worst. And there are people that are way worse off than me. I'm so fucking lucky. But still, you know, it hurts. And then in terms of sponsors, again, also have been down that road for many more than 5 years. I've been dealing with sponsors for almost 10 years. And long story short, FPV is not a great place to make money. None of these FPV companies have parking lots filled with Ferraris and Porsches. Nobody in FPV has a lot of has an excess of money other than all of the folks who are going into the military side of things. And so the sponsorship opportunities are not, you don't make shit for money on them. If they're going to send you stuff that has a lot of value, they're going to expect you to put in a lot of time and a lot of effort. And then that value of those products is completely out the window. Yeah, it just doesn't work. Sponsors are not the way. For many years, when sponsorships were much more common, it would be a very common question in these live streams: how do I get sponsorships? And I would tell people not to, because it's you could go out and get a part-time job and make way more money than you will net from sponsorship opportunities. So yeah, it doesn't work. Ryan says, did the tattoo people ever reach out to you? I can follow up with them again next time I'm at their warehouse. They didn't. I've messaged them multiple times over the years, and they've never gotten back to me. Also, to be honest, like, I'm not a nobody to you guys, but to the majority of the FPV community, they don't know who the hell I am. I don't do the things that get me a lot of visibility because I don't want the visibility. If you meet 100 people, one of those people is going to be a monster, and they're going to be a total asshole. And so if you do things that get you loads of visibility, you're going to attract loads of monsters. And I don't deal very well with that. And so it doesn't work for me. And so I try to create a community of good people that understand the value of this and support me from that. And so, yeah. For a company to be like, oh, we want to sponsor this guy, and they go to my channel and they're like, well, he only has 11,000 subscribers. Fuck that. That's it, right? That's what, like, most people look for. They just look at the subscriber number. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of understanding of the quality of the audience, right? And so, yeah, I kind of do a lot of things wrong, but I do them for the right reasons, I like to think. But I don't follow the formula that the other people that are more successful for typically a short period of time do, right? That's the other thing. You get like a massive audience, but it's just a bunch of people that like don't care and they don't stick around. They just vanish. And so, yeah. Again, I've spent an awful lot of time and effort and figuring all this shit out. I hate to say, just trust me, but yeah. Ryan also says the chat is about 40% Ryan right now, so you have to be more specific. Yuke says, wait, you're not gonna be able to stream at all anymore. Nope, I'll always try to live stream, but I am gonna have to get a. I would love to just get a part-time job, but I need insurance, and yeah, it's difficult to impossible to get insurance with a part-time job, so I will probably have to get a full-time job, and yeah, that eats up 40 plus hours a week, and yeah, that's gonna make streaming 5 times a week, or wait, no, 4 times a week impossible. I will definitely do 1, hopefully 2. I probably won't be able to do more than that. But I'll do everything that I possibly can. because, yeah, this is a dream. This has been an absolute dream. And yeah, I don't know. Ryan says, I guess the moral of the story is that honesty is extremely expensive. It is indeed. Being, unfortunately, in 2026, in a lot of cases, you know, doing the right thing and being a good person is not very rewarded. It's interesting. It's definitely not rewarded in the short term. Every once in a while, it is rewarded in the long term. But like, you know, what kind of a human being do you want to be in the time that you spend on this earth, right? Do you want to be successful with a lot of money and have to do things that are maybe morally fucked up that screw things up for other people? Or, yeah, I don't know. It's tough to make a lot of money and do good for the world. I'll say that, right? Obviously not impossible, because lots of people do it, but it takes a lot of work. It takes making a lot of good decisions, you know, like earlier in life. It takes hard work, a lot of hard work earlier in life. And I went to college, but I kind of coasted. You know, I didn't go to medical school. I didn't go to do engineering stuff. I didn't do a lot of the really hard, difficult things that would have netted me those sort of opportunities later in life. But again, I'm super lucky to have gotten to do this for as long as I have. And you never know. Maybe magically the flying gigs will pop back up, or I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Thanks for hanging, friends. CiottiFPV.com is where you can go to support me. Patreon helps me out the absolute most. At the very least, change your bookmarks to all these websites that I have affiliate links to the affiliate links, because they're, you know, a couple bucks here and there. And it doesn't cost you any time or effort. Book a one-on-one session with me through Fiverr, something that is, I always thought that was going to be, I thought the Fiverr thing was going to be like where I succeeded. I thought that was going to be my kind of thing, because every single person that I've ever done a Fiverr session with, at the end of it's like, holy shit, I can't believe I just learned this much. This was amazing. But man, I only get like one Fiverr a month if I'm lucky. It's I mean, I get it. You can get a lot of free content and answers to questions, you know, from Joshua's stream and my stream, and you can get terrible answers from Reddit and Facebook groups. But yeah, I always thought I'd have like 2 or 3 Fiverr calls a day lined up, and that would easily bring me to the point where I could do this more comfortably. But yeah, things don't work out as you think they do, and that's okay. Be good, friends. Here's a little bit more backyard bashing with the 1002 rig, my absolute favorite at the moment. That should be this flight file, I think.
All right, 2S.
Maybe it's the 802 rig. I'm pretty sure it's the 1002 rig. Be good, friends. See you Friday.
Yeah. Out in the yard where the grass grows wild, CiottiFPV's goggles locked, grinning like a child. Teddy spaghetti's, fur flies, and jet wash dreams. Yeah. Chasing small whoops like a dog possessed fiend. Eyes on a neon blur, hard in the chase. Big fuzz and prop spin, all tangled in place. Yeah. Four-legged rebel with a rotor stir tail in the circus of the sky. They never fail. CiottiFPV, Teddy spaghetti, dynamic duo kings, barking at the breeze, throttling at top speed. They zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a 2D smile.
Shotties on sticks, Teddy's on paws. Side by side, legends breaking all the laws. Through the kitchen, over couch, scale terrain. Backyard mayhem in their flight domain. No ground too sacred, no loop too tight. Fuzz, fuel, fury ignites the night. When pilot and pup lock eyes on the prize, every whoop they conquer is a fresh cut surprise. Yeah. Yo, Shotty behind the sticks, Teddy's leading the pack. Prop guard missiles unleashed, never looking back. No leash, no map, just freestyle mic. They on the dog drone streets every day and night. Said whoops, hitting low, gotta nail the dive, Teddy. Push throttle up, feel the beast come alive. I see the neon arc, got the sticks locked in, Teddy. Yeah, let's rip this loop, ride the roar of the wind, Teddy. Yep. Yeah, CiottiFPV, Teddy's spaghetti, diamond and duo kings, barking at the breeze, crawling at top speed, zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Teddy's spaghetti. Barking at the breeze, rolling at top speed things, zooming through hoops, flipping in style. That schnauzer's got throttle and a toothy smile. Yeah, when you hear that bar cut the rotor hum, you know Ciotti and Teddy's mission's just begun. FPV's fur-faced legends, legends singing loud. Yeah, Teddy spaghetti and CiottiFPV always proud.